Oh, yeah. What's going on, everybody out there? Welcome back to the Sin Bin Podcast, Episode 2. I'm your host, Moodz. Yeah. And of course, I have all my sinners up in the house with me tonight. We got the Mexican, aka JP, Mr. Saucedo, also known as Tyler. And last but not least, we have Tony, the Shiner Hartman. What's going on, my sinners?
Hello, Moodz. How you doing?
I can't do that Tony voice, but and if you're wondering why I'm wearing like a knitted sweater, check it out.
Holy shit, amazing.
So it worked out perfect. I was trying to think of something to say for you, and I'm like, I'm gonna do Tony, or I'm gonna do the fucking Danny thing, because I don't know if I told the story of how I have this. So me and the wife were watching The Shining, and I said to her in the middle of the movie, I said, I would totally wear Danny's knitted sweatshirt. And she mentioned it to her mom, and her mom actually made me one. She sent over a picture and just made me for Christmas.
Oh shit, that's homemade?
Yeah.
That's so
wow,
sad.
that's incredible.
Yeah, dude, that's how I got that. And I was like, oh my God, that's fucking. So I opened it up, and at first I was like, what is it? And then it just, because I was so shocked that it was from her. And it was crazy. It was fucking crazy. So anyways, yeah, so I thought that was absolutely perfect. I'm like, I gotta wear the sweater for it. So people are at home going, what is Moodz wearing this knitted sweatshirt? What a dork. But I'm gonna have to take it off in a minute. I'm gonna have to take it off in a minute because I am roasting, literally roasting. I feel like I got sweat dripping down right now. But anyways, yeah, what's going on, guys? Episode 2 of the Sin Bin podcast. And man, we said that we were going to be back in a month, and it's almost to the day. We're recording this a month and 1 day later. Wow. So that worked out pretty well, considering I think we were all having shipping issues. I was having the worst, and I actually found out why my shit didn't ship. So I'm kind of an asshole, / idiot. It's kind of my fault. It's kind of my fault. So I always forget when Vinegar Syndrome does sales, they don't offer free shipping. Right. So when you buy the monthly packages and you spend over a certain amount of money, it automatically comes up with free shipping, right? So you don't have to pay shipping. So, but this particular month was like a sale. So there's a package, but then there's like sale items. So they don't offer the free shipping option. So my dumbass thinking I put in so many damn orders. So when I put in that initial order, I clicked add to existing order. It shouldn't even be an option at that point. If you don't have an existing order, you shouldn't be able to click that. So anyways, I clicked add to existing order, not thinking about it. I was like, whatever. So I'm waiting on my order, and we're all talking in our group and shit. And I'm like, where the fuck is my goddamn order? So I emailed them, and they got back to me about 3 days later because it was the weekend. And she was pretty fucking pissed off at me. She's like, yeah, so your order kind of got lost in the mix because you clicked add to existing order. She's like, it's way far past the fact. Now we're not going to ask you for the money and stuff. And I'm like, if you had contacted me 2 weeks ago, I would have paid the shipping. Like, I totally would have paid it. So you guys would have shipped it out right away. But she's like, because it was like a month later. And
so wait, do they not offer? I thought like over $100 or something is free shipping.
Only on regular months. That was a sale, right? The January pack or this sale was like a sale.
Well, this was the subscriber week.
Yeah,
movies.
So those were
there was like the daily deals though too.
Yeah.
Well, what's the threshold for you now? 150.
So like this month. So the package that we just ordered for March. So when I purchased that, it's automatically free shipping. It doesn't even say add to existing order. It says free shipping because the monthly packages are enough. I don't even know what the threshold is.
Wait, am I supposed to do that? Is that why I'm getting my stuff in 2 packages?
I have no idea. I'm confused sometimes by their shit.
I mean, honestly, like your subscriber shipping should just be the only option.
Right, but I'm saying like, so you know how you have the subscriber and then like I picked up like the VSA and like the other title. Am I supposed to add that to like the subscriber thing, or just ordering it would it come with the subscriber?
No, because like if you made an initial order and then you got a daily deal thing or whatever, you just add to existing order.
Oh, okay.
Right, because you're not already paying for shit because you have the yearly package deal, right? Where I fucked up because I wasn't even thinking, like, I'm so used to just clicking add to existing order, blah, 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 right? I just clicked it. I wasn't even thinking. But apparently it doesn't work like that because all the other months of the year, when I get those monthly packages, it just comes up with free shipping to Canada. because I'm spending, obviously the packages are enough that beats the threshold for shipping, right? So
yeah, you just weren't even thinking.
So I apologized to her and I was like, sorry, but I'm like, if you had have contacted me when you realized that this was, there had to have been existing, other people had to have done this and probably emailed with the same concerns, right? Because in theory, they shouldn't even have that option if they don't offer add to existing order when you don't already have an existing order, right? It should recognize that, right? Because I didn't have anything, obviously. But the thing is, I always do. Like, it seems
so
like
I wonder if you would have. So I wonder if you would have placed your March order, or sorry, this February order. I wonder if eventually that stuff would have shipped with with like the monthly package from this month.
Right.
Maybe they're waiting on that.
I mean, like I even said to her, I was like, well, I've got another order in right now because we just ordered that one. Fuck, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna take the blame for that because I'm an idiot, but it is what it is, and it didn't really affect our showtime start. Like this is kind of when we were gonna.
The only thing it affected for me was normally I would have tried to squeeze in like some of you guys' films too, but since like I don't want to do it too early because I won't remember anything. Plus, I was prepping for 2011, but
yeah, this has been a hectic fucking week, man. I mean, we had the 2011 show on Sunday. Then I had to watch, and like I'm out of town this weekend, so I had to cram in all these movies, like 9 movies plus the 22 shot shows movies for Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just scatterbrained right now. I'm like, fuck, I'm like an overload on films right now. So, but we'll try to get it done.
This was a rough week for that.
Yeah. But next month should be a lot easier. For the I guess technically the February titles.
I mean, we'll talk about it at the end of the show, but I kind of forgot what even is coming out and what we're doing. I don't even remember.
I know my pick.
Yeah, I know my pick.
Did we decide? I know what the main feature review is. The main feature. I don't why'd have to say main feature. I think it's feature review. That's phase 4, but I don't know what the other films are. Can't remember.
Yeah. Well, we'll announce them at the end of this one.
Okay.
But yeah, so this month was.
Oh, so I did an intro.
It took me a while to get.
So I did an intro that wasn't awkward this time. I was going to explain on this show why the last intro was so fucking awkward because JP, when he came to me with this idea and stuff, I assumed that he was going to be hosting the show, and we hadn't predetermined any of that shit until 2 seconds before I started spitting that shit. And I was like, well, that was a little fucking awkward, but I like to be prepared. So that's how it came out. But anyways, I just thought I had to
assumed.
I shouldn't have assumed. Yeah, and that's like the old saying.
Makes an ass out of you and me.
You should never assume anything. I totally fucking 100% agree with that. But I mean, it's kind of reminiscent of the 22 shots one, but whatever. It is what it is, man. It's still an intro. Everyone's you guys are you guys are my sinners. We're the sinners, right?
Yeah.
The sinners.
That's cool, man. The Sin Bin show, we're the sinners. All right. I think that fucking works out pretty well. So
yeah,
we'll roll with it.
But yeah, this month here. So this is technically what the
January.
Yes. Since we're always a month behind. Kind of an interesting month that was. I wasn't overly thrilled about like any of the titles in terms of like picks. I thought that they introduced that new line, the cinematograph. How do you say it?
I don't know if that's what I say. I don't know if I'm right.
You know what's funny about that? Everybody's videos I watch that shows off the Red Rock West film, nobody can fucking say it.
Well, I listened to nobody can say it. I listened to a podcast with Justin the Liberty, and he said cinematograph. So,
that's
cinematograph.
Say cinematograph.
So exactly how
cinematograph.
Yeah, so say that with confidence.
People are trying to say cinematograph, extra French, like cinematograph.
Oh my! Don't.
I swear to God,
morons.
I swear to God, I was like cinematograph.
That's just ridiculous, but
it's cinematograph.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when they announced these titles, I didn't know anything about Santet 1 and 2. Very familiar with Southern Comfort. Very familiar with the Black Cat films. And Red Rock West. But Little Darlings, I still don't even know anything about that film. So I mean, and I like some.
I know a lot about that film now.
So I thought it was pretty good. Like I mean, we've talked about Southern Comfort before. I like it. So I wasn't like, I knew what I was getting myself into with that. And Black Cat, the first Black Cat, anyways, knowing the history, a little bit of history of that and stuff. But I was curious when I looked into the Santet films, like, because I like that wacky, crazy kind of Asian shit that you just never know what you're getting yourself into. So that interests me. I like the really bizarre, obscure shit. That's why I'm a huge fan of Mono Macabro label too, because they release weird shit like that. Doesn't that seem like that would be released by Mono Macabro? Right?
For
like
sure.
It's totally like up their alley, right? And so I mean, I was really this month was pretty intriguing for me. So
yeah, I loved it too. I watched all of your guys' movies and I thought it was the perfect little, like, I don't know, like assortment of different genres. You got Hollywood shit, you got the most obscure like Asian shit that has never been translated in English.
Was like Red Rock West, was it like a big Hollywood production? I mean, I guess given the cast that was on it and stuff, but
yeah, it was. That was his first big Hollywood production. I thought they said it was his first movie, but it's not his first movie.
Who is it? Is it John Dahl? Is it
John Dahl? Yeah,
yeah,
his Hollywood debut. Yeah, right. I know a lot about that movie now.
yeah, because his next movie he did was The Last Seduction with Linda Fiorentino, and I've actually talked about that movie before. JP probably doesn't remember, but I've talked about that film and my love for it. I think that movie's fucking fantastic. That's a great neo-noir too. So, but we'll probably end up bringing that up in Tyler's review. So, have you guys seen it before?
I've seen it, yeah.
I got Linda Fiorentino.
I love her.
That shit popped up on a Kino sale, and I
fucking love her, man. There's something like very seductive and beautiful about her, man. Like even in oddly, like when she was in Dogma, right? Like she was good in that too. I'm like, oh man, I love her.
I always remember from Men in Black.
Yeah, that was definitely my first exposure to her.
That was my exposure.
Right, man. She's done a bag.
I had a crush on her then too.
Yeah, then I rewatched After Hours last year in the summer, and that she was in that too when she was really young. That was really cool to see.
I actually did. I watched that on I was on a flight back from Toronto last year, or the year before, or something like that. It was on their movie network thing, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch after. It's still fun. It's still fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. The 4K looks so good. That was one of the best releases last year.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. So JP shows up to the show 45 minutes late and then he's the first one off screen.
Taking a dump.
He's getting his room service right now. He ordered some fucking chicken fingers and fries. He's complaining right now because he didn't get his mayo. Like fucking mayo and fries. What are you, Dutch?
I love mayo and fries.
Yeah, me too. I didn't know that was a thing until I was in like Montreal, like in a hotel one day, and I ordered room service. They gave me mayonnaise with it. I was like, oh.
Hey, wait, you're allowed to do this? And they're like, oh shit, this shit rocks.
Well, I'm married into a Dutch family, and like they're all straight from Holland kind of thing, and that's normal. Like you eat fries with mayonnaise. That's just what you do. Like ketchup, that's the foreign thing. That's foreign. They're like, ketchup? Who fucking puts ketchup on fries? It's crazy. Yeah, so no, yeah. It's actually good though. It's good.
Yeah.
Love it.
I could fuck with it.
JP, you a fries and mayo type of guy?
Hell no.
I didn't think so.
I didn't even like mayo until like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
At least you came around.
I
used to love that shit. I remember being like a kid in school when it was sandwich day. That was my favorite because they would put like the mayo pump machine out, and I'd be like, "We're gonna load this bad boy up."
You guys had a mayo pump machine? Jesus.
Yeah.
He walked out with the mayo machine.
It's like...
That is amazing. That's amazing.
Oh shit!
Extra creamy.
Yeah. So I feel like we probably shouldn't go on forever in the intro like we do on the other one.
Yeah.
So do you guys want to get into the solo reviews?
Yep.
Or do you got anything else? You want to say anything?
Is there anything that anybody wanted to mention about the titles or the sale or anything?
No, I'm good. I mean, I kind of had a package mishap too, but they just forgot like half of my order, but They shipped it and
So I don't know what's going on. I've been buying from Vinegar Syndrome for years and years and years. I never really had shipping issues, and it seems like all of us have been having similar and I've been hearing from other people they have been too. So maybe they got different personnel in there right now. Like I'm not
I
trying to
think
harp
maybe
on it.
they probably just have more orders
They're
than
just busier.
normal. They're getting bigger.
I think what they said this time was that all their orders didn't come in on time or something, like to ship out. Like they came in late.
The
so they got behind.
manufacturing.
Even
Yeah.
last year I had, because I literally have a package every month, and I think it was 2 times last year they forgot like one random title. So
Oh,
it's just somebody
that's
putting the order,
interesting.
yeah, just putting the order together and just forgot a title. So I emailed, and they're really good. Like they curry it out. It's there in like 2
Yeah.
days. They like express the shit out. So
The only issue I ever had is on one of the not this last Black Friday sale, but the one before that. I literally just never got my package. It was like almost, I think it was like 300 and some dollars.
right, yeah, I
It
remember
just
that.
it said delivered, and I just never got it.
Right.
But they replaced it. But I like felt bad that they had to replace all that, but like I truly did not get it. Like,
right,
you know, somebody out there has my shit. Like they're probably like I always wonder that, right? Like where does it end up? Like did some random dude just get it and like has no idea what the
honestly working in that industry of, you know, delivering mail and shit, like what could have happened, it got delivered to the wrong house, and the motherfuckers just kept it.
yeah.
Yeah, they took one look at it and they're like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Because it happens, like sometimes you'll deliver a package into a CMB, like a community mailbox or something like that, into like the wrong slot, and they'll just keep it. The people that open up, they're like, "Oh, fucking movie, right on. I guess I'm watching the reincarnation of Peter Proud tonight." It's like,
yeah, right.
you know, but it does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen because I mean, when you're dealing, I mean, to the person that doesn't do that job, like how the fuck could you fuck it up? But like when you're dealing with thousands of pieces all
Dude,
the time, like it happens. It happens.
Dude, it's so weird you say that because I literally think the opposite way. I literally think like, how the fuck do they not fuck this up more often? Because like there's so much.
And it is crazy because like, you know, I mean, for somebody like me, I'm very meticulous, but I mean, every once in a while, like you know, you go back to a house the next day and you're like, oh shit, that was the wrong, same address, wrong street.
I would literally think
It happens.
I
It
think I
fucking
would be
just a missort.
horrible at it.
Yeah, but package wise, it's a little harder to fuck at package wise, is because you got to scan them and like you're doing extra things with them. So, but it does happen when, especially when you're CB. That's more likely when it's happened. But I know you're not CB, so it would be like, was it delivered to your house? You get your shit delivered to your house or to the work?
Lately, like the past like couple years, I've been doing work because my house, I have a PO box. And my post office is only open from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So it's literally like so
who can
hard
go
to
there
get mail.
ever?
That is so fucking bizarre.
Dude,
why even be open?
I've
Dude,
always like
I know.
noticed that about like government places that just like drive me insane. Their hours are like 9 a.m. to like 4 p.m. How does anybody that has a full-time job ever go to these places?
I know. I my post office used to be open like 7 a.m. to like 4 p.m. Now
you gotta
you can
waste
go
a lunch break.
This is I think how they get away with it, because you can go in there and get your mail at any time. Like the inside is open, like you can just walk in at midnight if you want. But the mailbox slot is like that big. So any packages that you have to get from the behind the counter.
Right.
So you can technically get all your mail, but you just any packages, it's like a huge. Now they do have these slots at the bottom of the mailbox that are bigger, and sometimes they'll leave you a key inside your mailbox to open up and get your package out. Yeah. But sometimes my Vinegar Syndrome packages might even be too big for that.
Damn.
Yeah, that's just normal for us. We do the same thing. Like we got community mailboxes in our neighborhoods and stuff like that. The same thing. You got bigger packages, they go in the bigger slots. Yeah, it's just CB stands for community mailbox. So.
Oh, okay. But yeah, but so I usually get it shipped to my work just because I get it faster. Like getting things out where I live versus here is like literally like a 5-day difference sometimes. Like if I order something from Amazon, it'll get my house with Prime in like 7 days, and then here it's like 2.
Yeah. What's the fucking even, like, what's the point even paying for Prime at that point?
Dude,
It's honestly
the streaming.
Well, the thing is
Prime has gotten
because
so bad for me too.
that's the fine print. That's the fucking fine print with Prime. It's like they offer 2 day shipping, and it usually fucking is, but it usually takes 5 days to ship, and then you get it 2 days after that. That's the fucking catch for Prime.
I ordered Funeral Home like 2 weeks ago on Prime, and it's been like delayed by like 2 weeks.
I fucking pre-ordered that, and mine has never been in stock as usual, as per usual.
Yeah.
You guys have heard my stories. It's constant with me, man. Like, fuck, it's so useless, man. I hate Amazon. But the problem is, you know, like the way shit is now, you got to get it there. They've made it so you have to fucking order. They've taken over the world. So
I live like 10 minutes from an Amazon plant, so I don't really ever have issues.
Yeah, they can probably just put it on a drone and fly it over to your house. You get that.
There's days the other day,
15
like I was
shipping.
like I think it was Tuesday morning. I was just like cruising Amazon, and I noticed like they had that Tsukamoto set, the Solid Metal Nightmares, like for half off. It was like, well, you can't get it any cheaper than half off, so I might as well buy it. And I came home from work, and it was there.
Yeah, that never happened to me ever.
No.
Jeremy used to do that too, where he would order shit and it would come like 3 hours later.
Because they were doing that thing where it was like the same day shipping there and shit. And I was like, that's fucking bananas.
Yeah, I've got that too. I think we have like 3 or 4 Amazon factories in Ohio.
We have ridiculous. Like a literal like shipping like plant like 10 minutes from where I live, like the city over.
Fuck, crazy.
Yeah, I got locals that work for Amazon. I just call them fucking drones.
Right.
It's like, how dare you?
All right, so I guess we should probably end the banter and get into some solar reviews.
Yep.
All right, so Tony, I can't do it. My voice is I don't want to fuck it up anymore.
Hello, Moodz. Tony.
Yeah.
Well, I had Santet 1 and 2. So I'm going to keep them a little bit brief. I'll probably talk about part 2, not too long, because I don't want to spoil anything. But Santet is Indonesian for black magic, basically, is what the translation is.
Yeah.
And this movie is called Black Magic Bringer of Death, or Santet. And it's by Siswaro Gautamaputra, who's probably one of the more prolific Indonesian directors. He did shit like Satan's Slave, Primitives, and like Srigala that TerrorVision put out last year.
Yeah.
Which I haven't watched that yet. And it stars Susanna, who's probably like one of the more famous Indonesian actresses. I'm not too familiar with either, actually. But this movie is pretty cool. So basically, it starts out in like this type of brothel that's owned by this guy. His name is Beesman. And he's acted by probably one of the most hideous looking motherfuckers I've ever seen in my life.
So when I was first watching the film, I wasn't sure if that was actually like a prosthetic, like makeup or whatever, but it turns out I think that's exactly like what he looks like.
Yeah, right. It's like he must have either a skin condition or the worst acne you could ever imagine.
I think it's like it almost resembles like an alligator skin. In a sense, like it's kind of almost like scaled, but I don't know how to explain it. It's weird.
Yeah, he looks like the other guy from Thinner.
Yeah,
that's
the one that didn't get thin but got like lizard skin.
Right.
That's scaly.
Yeah. But yeah, this guy, he's kind of like the old dude from like Roadhouse. He's like one of those types of gangsters that like pretty much owns the town. He has like a stake in all the businesses and he pretty much just runs the thing. So for no reason, like the movie just starts in his bar and he's like going into the back room where his wife, who's seemingly just like on her deathbed, she's just like chronically ill. And of course he hates her. So he goes to the cabinet and grabs some fucking poison and just says, here, this will make you better. Whatever. So she drinks it. And of course
he literally
she starts
says
like,
that.
Yeah, she like starts convulsing. She dies, whatever. So then everybody's like, oh, what the fuck happened? He's like, it was that cleric, like the religious guy down the street that believes in God and shit. Like they said that he used black magic to kill her. So what they do is he basically creates a mob. They storm through town to this guy's church, basically, as he's like doing a prayer. and they drag his ass out and burn him alive. And his wife, who's played by Susanna, her name is Katami. And Bisman tries to rape her because he's like, well, you don't have a husband, so you're mine now. And I don't have a wife. So she gets away from him by some way. I'm not really sure. She like kicks him in the balls. And as he's like bent over, she like takes her fist and like rams him between his legs. Not sure if she like grabs his nuts or like checks his oil or anything. But she escapes. She's there like all night. And then the next day, she like wanders out and she finds this lake. And out of nowhere, this woman, half crocodile, comes out of the lake. It's like a complete crocodile with just a woman's head on it. And she's a witch. And she basically tells Susan or Katami that I can give you black magic if you want to exact revenge on all these guys that killed your husband. And she's like, all right. And she says, but you can only get the magic if you follow these 3 simple steps. Number 1, you have to steal and eat a fresh placenta from a newborn baby. And then 2, you have to stay in a lake full of crocodiles for an entire day. And then number 3, you have to strip naked and walk through town. So just like the most,
dude, what?
Yeah.
I literally
that sounds really cool though, bro.
I laughed out loud for real when she said that. I was like, because why would you have to do that? For no other reason but straight exploitation reasons, right? Like, I'm like, that's ridiculous. But it's actually not explicit though, which kind of sucks because she's pretty good looking.
Oh yeah, she was like 46 in this movie, and she looks incredible.
Incredible, like super incredible.
Yeah, like the Indonesian people thought she was actually into black magic because she looked so youthful for her age. Like they thought that she was just like,
I believe it,
really a witch.
It's crazy.
But yeah, I love that they started out with the placenta. Like when they said that, I'm like, okay, that's fucking gross. Like put her the next to it could only get worse from here. But it's like, okay, swimming with crocodiles and walking naked, whatever.
Yeah.
So she does that. Like the placenta one's really funny because it literally just cuts to the next scene of like a man delivering his wife's baby. And then she's like, oh, take the placenta and bury it outside. Which I don't know. That's something that we don't understand.
It's got to be something in that culture. Maybe it's good luck or something. It's got to be something, right? Something it wasn't like explained, but I right away I was like, well, it's got to be something to do like prolong the life or good luck or some shit. But I'm like, gross, dude. It's a fucking placenta.
Or just gross.
Yeah. So he like puts it in the bucket and takes it outside and walks back in. So here comes Katami just like sneaking behind the house looking for this placenta. It's like, oh wow, how fucking convenient.
Is he like, I smell the scent of a placenta?
So she like takes this bloody ass placenta, puts it in a leaf and like wraps it like she's like packing meat at a fucking butcher shop and just like gets the hell out of here. Takes it to that witch and she's like, all right. So she opens it and it's like the most uncomfortable, weird, like 30 minutes of just Katami just taking quiet bites out of a raw piece of meat.
Ew.
It looks gross too. It looked really gross.
There's
at
like
least the
no
blood
music.
Was on point. They could look nasty. Ugh.
I know. I was like fucking convulsing doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the crocodile scene was funny because she just goes in and she's like naked and everything going into this. And she's just swimming around and Bisman, the guy that tried to rape her and like claim her as his own, is now like basically hiring all his men around town to capture her because he's like pissed off that she got a one up on him. But that night, 3 of them are like fishing in a boat. And he tells 2 of the guys to go get her. And as they like go and swim in the water and start trying to grab her, the crocodiles actually kill and eat them instead of her. And one guy escapes to go like tell him what happened. But then she walks through town naked like it's nothing. Like whatever. So she does everything. She gets the powers. And from there on out, it becomes basically just a revenge movie with little bits of like slapstick humor here and there. But yeah, I mean, I really like this movie. I wasn't really knowing what to expect because I haven't really watched any like Indonesian horror movies. But The only thing really I expected was just to be completely like in awe and shock at some like the violence and whatever that was gonna come. And there was some like crazy ass shit in this movie. Like, of course, you had like blood effects, there's like bladder effects out the ass. There's a lot of effects with like eels like coming out of legs and coming out of ears and shit. Yeah, what else? There was a guy.
The effects were cool in it. I thought they were actually pretty cool, and it made a lot of sense because a lot of Asian stuff like that, they have something weird. Like there's always eels and shit. There's always eels.
I was gonna say that too. I feel like eels is like definitely part
But
of the culture.
I really like that scene though with I think they were coming out. Were they coming out the legs and stuff, or was that the balloon where the blood was exploding in balloons and shit? I don't know.
Oh yeah, so basically I forgot to mention this. Like when she first met the witch, the half woman, half crocodile, she like showed her basically a taste of her magic. So she made like little bulbous like pussy things explode on her legs and have like eels crawl out of like the holes and shit and slither out.
Yeah.
It was fucking gross.
Yeah, it actually looked pretty good though. I was surprised at the color of the blood and like how well it was done. It's like shit. Because you can tell like these are not big budget films at all. Like they do well with it though. So
what year did this come out?
88.
88, yeah.
Okay, so it's
that was one thing about the movie that I thought was really interesting is that like it has this tone and then it switches back and forth. Like there's a main, well, that's one thing you didn't mention actually is like the weird thing about this little small town in this island, I guess is what it is. They don't actually have police. They even mention it. There's like a commissioner, but then there's just like security. And our main security guard is a total fucking goofball. And then it leads into the weirdest fucking scene, actually, in both movies.
Right.
So strange.
That scene in the first one is insane.
Yeah.
So this guy's name is Borkir, and he's like the weirdest looking dude ever. He's got the gnarliest, biggest fucking teeth. He's like the Indonesian, like Gary Busey.
But he seems to get all the chicks though. He gets all the girls, man. Like
he spends both movies just trying to get his dick wet like the entire time.
Every movie like this needs a meathead.
Well, that's because he's like fucking Barry Manilow out there with the songs and shit.
Right. So there's a scene where like he's trying to get with Katami and she like drags him into the woods and she's like, okay, strip down. So he strips down and this motherfucker has like the biggest pair of boxer shorts I've ever seen in my life. They like go up to like his chest.
You know, like that's when the tonal switch goes from like, okay, it's kind of funny to like, oh my God, we're watching a fucking clown, man. It was like straight clown comedy.
Right. And then she's like, I'll give you whatever you want. And he's like, I want your breasts. So she like turns around and she's like, here, come grab him. He grabs him. And all of a sudden he like, in his hand, he like holds like a severed titty and it squirts milk into his face.
Do you remember what he says?
The hell?
What does he say there? I can't remember.
He goes, why is it so salty? I had to pause it. I started laughing so hard. I was like, salty? Because like I swear they're just insinuating that it was like jizz. I was like, what? Because titty milk is not salty. It's fucking super sweet.
Yeah, it kind of tastes like cereal milk.
It's like super sweet. Yeah. So when he said salty, I lost my shit laughing. I was like, and it was like dripping down his face. I'm like, oh my God, it's like so like gross.
So he's like grossed out and he's like running through town. And the cop or the other security guys don't really recognize him because I don't even know how, but somehow as he's running away, he just happens to have a fucking clown mask on. Like, how did he get the clown mask? I can't even remember. Maybe she like magicked it on his head. But yeah, he like hides under a house full of a bunch of chickens. And the guy like comes out and he's like, who the hell's down there? It's either a thief or a cat. And then like the dude just like, I'm a cat. But then from there he starts singing a song. Like it goes into like a dance number, like music number.
Well, because they say he's a thief. And then the whole song is about being like an innocent person and not being a thief, and he's a good guy and shit. And it goes on for like a 5-6 minute fucking music video, and like
I could not believe being unemployed.
Yeah, I could not. But which is kind of funny because isn't in theory he's employed because he's a security guard?
Yeah, he's a security guard, so that literally makes no fucking sense.
That's what I thought too. Right away, I was like, unemployed. I'm like, you're fucking a security guard. Like, it made no sense.
Yeah, and there's one random moment in this like song where he just all of a sudden starts like cosplaying as Rambo, and there's like this giant Rambo 4 banner behind him as he's like singing. It makes literally no sense.
I thought that was so damn fucking funny because Rambo 4 hadn't come out. Obviously, it was way years later. But Rambo 3 had, I think, it just come out in '88.
Oh yeah, same year, wasn't it?
Yeah. So like they want Rambo 4 already.
Yeah, like, Rambo 4 was like 2000. Like,
oh yeah, it was way after the fact. But like when he's like dressed up as Rambo and I'm like, oh my god, this is so I was pissing myself, dude. One thing I was laughing about the movie was the soundtrack that just repeats itself, or the score. It's like Casio music, like Casio keyboard shit through the whole movie. I'm like, that is the soundtrack to every shot on video film up to 1988.
It's so true. Like, it's such a nostalgic sound. I loved it so much.
It's totally
that
Casio.
Soundtrack was incredible.
Everybody knows that Casio keyboard sound, and that's exactly what it was. It was so fucking funny, dude. I was pissing myself.
I know, it's just like straight, just keys, just beep, 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 beep.
Yeah. It's so good.
But yeah, like the comedy was pretty good. Like the deaths are really sweet too. Like there's a lot of just like explosion effects, like a guy's stomach explode and like a bunch of baby snakes are like pouring out of his stomach. Like there's a lot of cool, really gnarly shit. There's also like a weird like Adam and Eve like dream sequence where the son of like the chief of the town like comes in like after he like dies or whatever, and he meets Katami, and for some reason she like wills some magic into his mind, and it cuts to a dream sequence where he's Adam and she's Eve, and they're like into each other, and they basically like just start reaching out and start like fondling each other's necks and shit. She like grabs his junk and he like grabs her shit, and then they're just like pawing each other. He starts biting her boob and like drinking her blood, and then like out of nowhere he wakes up and he like throws his pillow and he's pissed, and this guy's like a cleric, also a religious nut, so it's like, okay, well, he just obviously had a wet dream about this.
Right Yeah.
But yeah, there's also like a really shitty like werewolf transformation in this movie, like out of the blue, which was, I don't know, I kind of liked it. What did you think of that werewolf?
Well, I was just disappointed that like in the film, I mean, obviously it was really bizarre. Like it's just kind of, it's like the old school effects where they kind of just layer the effect on top, and all of a sudden it's like what they did in the 1920s, really. But I was kind of disappointed because like, you know, it's a revenge film, and like that's the person that you want to get some crazy revenge on. He's kind of responsible. Well, he is responsible for everything that's happening. But do they actually like he transforms into a werewolf, but did they actually show his death? Because in the next film they talk about how his death was. Okay, maybe I just like blinked or something and missed it.
Oh
how did he die?
So he basically just gets lit on fire.
Oh, right. Okay, so yeah, I did. Okay, I forgot.
And honestly, like fire deaths in this movie are really good. Like the first guy that dies by fire in the beginning of the movie,
that was him. Shit.
Where he's like laying on the ground and you can see his arms flailing. Like,
right.
I was like, is that a real fucking guy? Like just getting engulfed in flames? Because it looked really good to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought Santet was a really fun movie. Like the music number, like it's only like 5 minutes and it's like a 90-minute movie. Like it's quick, it's easy. It starts off just immediately and just fucking goes.
Dude, it caught me off guard like a motherfucker. Like I've seen a few like Indian films, and they're notorious for throwing those in their films, right?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of Indonesian films before, and I've never seen that before. Like one of my favorites is Mystic and Bali. I love that fucking movie. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, and it happens to be from Indonesia. You've never seen that one?
No.
Oh,
I've had the mono DVD, but of course I haven't watched it. I'm like one of those guys that sits on movies.
Dude, that's a movie that needs like a 4K.
Is that the floating head movie?
Yeah, it's a fucking head that floats around, but it's got its like guts,
we
innards like hanging from
on the show before.
Dude, it's such a weird fucking movie. So I kind of got a lot from Santet, that I got from, Mystics and Bali, but without the musical notes though. That caught me off guard. So I was like, oh shit. And then they did it again in part 2. I wasn't expecting that shit, but I was amazed. But anyways, you can talk about that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much talked enough about part 1.
Mm.
I mean, I'm probably like around like I'll probably give it an 8. Like I really, really like that movie. Like the pacing was really good. I wasn't bored at all. The comedy was funny. The blood was cool. Like the deaths were inventive and it was shit I've never seen. So thumbs up on that one. But Santet 2, aka Black Magic 2, the Tiger Woman. It's almost like these two movies were shot back to back because this one takes place in the exact same village with the exact same cast and characters. It's honestly kind of cool.
Yeah.
What year? What's the year difference?
89.
I think it's 89.
And what was the first one?
88.
88.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe
it's almost like
honestly they might have shot them back to back.
Yeah, it's almost like a Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 situation.
I mean, everybody does kind of look very much the same. Like there's not a lot of difference in look.
Right. Yeah, and everybody has a lot of the same like costumes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the premise of the second one is Katami is trying to live a normal life and everything, but she becomes possessed by a different like evil entity. But this time, she is being transformed into a tiger every night. That's like basically the curse that's laid on her. And it's like the most like ridiculously shitty, cheesy like tiger transformation / attacks. Like it's almost like uninvited. Like the scenes where like the demon cat comes out of the regular cat and it's just like the most obvious stuffed animal you could see in your life. The tiger they used in this fucking movie is like a fucking tiger you win at a carnival. Like it's unbelievably stuffed and hilarious.
I always wondered, like, did they just have somebody throwing a stuffed tiger through the air at people and then they just built it from different angles? Because that's literally what it looks like at times. Like I started laughing so hard. I was like, oh my God, it's a stuffed tiger. It's literally a stuffed tiger.
Right. It's either a stuffed tiger getting thrown or somebody wearing like stuffed tiger like sleeves and like pawing somebody's like arm.
I hope that's what was going on.
Yeah, those close shots are probably the stuffed tiger, and the little further shots away are probably somebody with a shitty costume.
It's pretty amazing.
It was.
But yeah, like all the characters are the same in this one. But the one problem I have with this movie compared to the first is that horror takes a step back and it's fucking comedy. Like this is like 75% comedy, this movie. And our character Borkir, the one security guard from the last movie that sang, he is like 100% the main character in this movie. Like it's following him on his sexual exploits. He's always like trying to get away from his wife to go fuck some random like townswoman. There's another musical number where he's singing to Katami, but it's more of like a love theme this time. But then there's also a scene where he cosplays as like Tarzan and they have like a Tarzan and Jane situation.
Yeah, this one is like super, super corny. And it goes on. It feels like it goes on for like 8-9 minutes too. It's like forever.
Yeah, that one was really long. And yeah, you fucking said it. Like this movie is like corny.
Yeah.
Like the score is even different. Like the Casio keyboard's gone. So they might have Casio there and it's more like moody music, but there's like also like 70s, 80s like sitcom music. Like I swear to God, I was watching like the Brady Bunch when I was watching this movie sometimes. Because there'd be like he would say a joke and you'd just have like the random transition like and then like a transition to the next scene. I was just like, oh my God.
I think at points in that film you're waiting for the laugh track.
I was the laugh track.
Like, they just stupid comedy and all of a sudden it's like, yeah. Fuck,
there's also this weird scene with like this mute midget. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like they're looking for Katami because people know that she's a half woman, half tiger. And basically the movie is just them like trying to search and trying to find her because the tiger keeps terrorizing the people every night. But like they get a lead from the midget who's mute and he only just speaks in like noises. But he's like a mischievous little like guy who just like they chase around and everything.
I didn't understand if he was like supposed to be handicapped, or they just thought it was funny that he just spoke in like grunts and like body movements and shit. I'm like, what? I didn't understand the character.
At first I didn't know whether to laugh or be like, what's going on here? Like,
I know.
It's like, is he actually speaking a language?
Yeah,
I know
strange.
that's terrible. But yeah, I mean, there's still some horror in this and some decent deaths. Like there's some gross things like people puking out slugs and shit. There's a really cool scene where an arm comes out of someone's mouth to like choke the person in front of them. That was pretty cool. So I mean,
that's
it's
probably
like
one of the better scenes in the film.
Yeah, like there's a scene where Katami like throws a bunch of trout at a dude with her mind, and they just like impale him. So it's just like a bunch of trout stabbing.
Like fish?
Yeah, fish. Oh yeah, I completely forgot to mention like the bad guy from the first movie. This movie, the same actor is in this movie, but in this one, he's playing the son of the guy from the first movie.
The son of the bad guy.
Stupid.
And this guy's so like 50 years old.
Yeah, it's so fucking stupid. And
yeah,
I forgot about the fish, man. That was awesome, man. Picks up fish, just throws it into the body. I'm like, oh, nice. Death by fucking fish, man.
Yeah. Straight up trout stabbing. I was stoked for that. But yeah, this guy, he's the head of like a marijuana smuggling ring. And what's happening is they're taking marijuana and they're just basically putting it in trout to ship it. And that's how the trout come into play. But yeah, just like in the first movie, though, she gets a revenge against the people that deserve it. And there's another fun, goofy, magical fight at the end between the good and the evil and blah, blah, blah.
It's not even like a true revenge film, though. It's a weird setup because like she wants to like be away from this. She doesn't want anything to do with the black magic. Like, because everybody, there's this really ridiculous scene in the film where she's at this market and she goes to buy some shit and everyone's just like literally like there's like little kids that are just taunting her like, you're the witch, get the fuck out of here. Like they're just like taunting the shit out of her, bullying her, and nobody will sell her anything. Everybody's like, no, she's the witch, blah blah blah. And it's just like so over the top ridiculous. But the person that actually turns her into what she is was the mentor of the witch from the first film, and she basically wanted revenge by turning her into this tiger woman type thing. So,
all right, so they're basically treating this one as like the super boss because it's like, oh, the teacher of the teacher. Wow.
Yeah, so
she like lives in a cage.
Yeah, she's like taking all the fucking blame for, you know, this person that's basically kind of controlling her and shit like that. But honestly, dude, the tigers in this film, it's funny, like, you know, a lot of times when you have sequels, you kind of want to amp it up a little bit, but this one looks just so much more cheap. And they're like throwing stuffed animals at people. And it's like, I don't know, they took totally a different approach. It's like they didn't have even half the budget for it. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up Sleepaway Camp 3 again because it kind of reminded me of that. Like, I feel like just like those two movies, they just blew their entire load on the first one.
Yeah.
And then they just had like scraps and lower budget for the second one. So they just had to basically throw something together and try and make the best of it.
Well, the irony is between that comparison is that the Casio keyboard music is actually used in the first Santet movie, where it's used in the third Sleepaway Camp movie.
Oh yeah.
The sound, oh my god. When the dude's like rocking in the tent with his box and it's like this stupid fucking hip hop with this Casio beat. I'm like, oh my god, dude. So
that hip hop music at Sleepaway Camp 3 is the most fucking embarrassing shit you'll ever hear in your life.
It is stock.
It's like worse than Angela's rap.
Yeah, dude, it's stock from the Casio keyboards, man. It's so bad. Like, man. Good shit.
But yeah, I mean, besides all that stuff, it was still a pretty fun movie. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Like, it's not good on its own, but it's good as an extension of the first movie. I feel like the only way I'll ever watch it is if I watch the first one first. Like, I'll never just go be like, I'm going to watch Santet Part 2. That's never going to happen.
So it's only going to be in a double feature situation.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can pound both of them out in 3 hours. No big deal. And I mean, honestly, they do work well together because the second one almost starts immediately after the first one.
I don't think you can watch the second one as a solo feature. It just wouldn't work.
Mm-mm.
You have to see the first one to see the second one, really, because it makes a lot more sense. But yeah, as a double, I think these are great movies to watch with a crowd.
Oh, for sure. I'm definitely going to be
Like
showing
doing
it to my
commentaries on
friends.
these, they're perfect movies to do in that because they're lighthearted a little bit. You got some gore, that you got the horror elements and stuff, the comedic shit. But you know, even though they're subtitled, I mean, even if you missed a line or two, you're not missing anything. You know,
Right.
it'd
And
be a fun group movies.
it's not too exploitative. Like the attempted rape scene in the first movie is not graphic at all, like not in the slightest. So like anybody can pretty much watch these.
That it's interesting because I think that has a lot. It has a lot to do with like the Indonesian culture. They don't have a lot of like exploitive like nudity and shit, like unless it's being made by American directors like, down there if they're filming movies. But they're you know their own directors. They don't do shit like that. It wasn't as acceptable, you know. So I did find the running joke actually with, you know, the main character, the security guard. In both movies, he had like a different picture of like a white American girl on his wall in his room and shit. Did you
Oh
notice
my
the
God.
pose?
I thought about that and I didn't even really like think about it too hard. I'm just like, this guy has a lot of like Bikini Babe posters in his house.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
how's his wife okay with this?
Dude, I thought that was like how random. You're married and you like have these posters in your fucking bedroom.
It's like a high school kid's like bedroom wall.
It
Except
so
this guy's
is.
like a 50-year-old like Lance Henriksen ass looking Indonesian.
Oh man, it's funny as hell.
But yeah, the package is really nice. The fact that they put the two in the same like Blu-ray makes a lot of sense because the second one just does not stand on its own. But it comes with a book, and the book's really nice because it gets some like historical context. Like there's something they mentioned in the book about how there's like almost like an ethnic cleansing of people that like practice like black magic in Indonesia in like the 2000s. Like people were getting murdered and shit just for like doing stuff like that. And they're trying to like, or they're like drawing parallels between that and this movie because like there is a theme in this movie about townspeople being against black magic and being pro religion and all that shit. But then also in that book, they have a nice little like biography of Susanna, which to me, like, that's something that I want because I'm not too familiar with these movies. So I'd love to see like all the stuff she's in. They mentioned the fact that, I mean, they basically just gave like a whole bio, like her marriage life, her family life. She died really young in like 2008 from diabetes complications.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then I hate to say this, and I feel bad for saying this, but the only extra on this disc is a commentary track, and it's by Dr. Eki Amanjaya. And I listened to like 30 minutes of it, and I couldn't retain anything because I literally could barely understand a word this guy was saying, and I feel really bad about it, so I quit. But I'm sure, like I
Was
just
he
couldn't.
Indonesian?
Holy shit, the guy's name is crazy.
Yeah, he's a
Wow.
historian, and I'm sure he knows so much. And I bet it's like a nice historical documentary on like the making of the movie and shit like that. But I just could not
Yeah.
understand anything he was saying.
Like, how do you watch a commentary and then have subtitles? Like, that would be funny.
That's what I always thought you were gonna say, that like there was subtitles for the commentary on the subtitled movie.
I
Can't do
kind of
that.
wish like that's not a bad idea. Like sometimes when it comes to things like that,
But I guess you're
it,
watching the commentary after you watch it, so you don't really need to like read the subtitles for the film, right?
right,
Just make them different colors.
I
right.
mean,
It's
in
like
theory, I mean, if you get the premise of the film, a lot of the dialogue is kind of unnecessary. There's nothing hidden in the dialogue where you're like, oh, totally.
no, there's no like,
It's
there's
nothing
really
like that.
nothing to like dive into. It's just
No.
pure popcorn fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, like if you're interested in like Indonesian cinema and stuff like that, like fucking go for it. Like
Right.
I'm really happy they put these two movies out. And honestly, I hope they put more stuff like this out because this is I'm really happy about subscribing to Vinegar Syndrome because I'm like confident that I'm gonna get stuff that I don't already have.
Right.
And like for me, I own probably close to 7,000 movies. Like for me to be confident about subscribing to anything is kind of a big deal for me.
Right.
Makes sense.
So yeah, Santet 1 and 2. Thumbs
Yeah,
What
up.
did you rate the second one?
A 6.
I feel like with Vinegar Syndrome, I mean, they have such a wide range of films that they're doing. You really don't know what you're gonna get. And I love that about it. You know, I think with like something like with Mondo Macabro, like going back to them, I mean, they specify in world cinema, so you know you're getting shit from every place, and it's usually the really obscure. Like that's kind of in the realm of what you're getting.
Right.
I like them a
But with
lot.
Vinegar Syndrome, you do get, you know, you get the odd Hollywood film. You get fucking shit
Well,
like
especially
this.
now they're doing a lot of like with this cinema
Cinematograph.
Cinematograph.
Right.
cinematograph label, like those are pretty much studio films.
Like, they do have some
Yeah.
bizarre labels, like they're VSUs, man. Like it, you know, I mean, you got fucking Roadhouse on there. You know,
Yeah,
and
see,
then
I'm not a big fan of what they did with, well, see,
And
Southern Comfort
Top-
feels appropriate. Like it feels like like what that line was like initially, like Beastmaster. Like I think of like cult films that would have aired, would have played on HBO over and over again. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
like what I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like Roadhouse, what was it? The Roadhouse and Chuck Norris one really threw me off.
yeah, the
Sidekicks.
Roadhouse release, it took me forever. Like I actually missed out on the big fancy box case because I was like, you know, do I need this? And then I end up getting like just the standard edition on a sale for way cheaper and stuff. But it did, man, because that label started out with the
Beastmaster.
with Beastmaster, and then it went to the Samurai one.
6-string samurai or
Yeah,
something.
which I'd always wanted to see. I was so happy, but like you going from that shit, Beastmaster's pretty well known.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
Extreme
feels like
Samurai.
appropriate because it's like it's cultish, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's like
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure.
I mean, me personally, like I feel like the VSU line is pretty streamlined. Like I feel like Roadhouse is like a studio cult movie.
Is
Mhm.
it?
Yeah.
Same thing.
It
Oh, yeah,
is
for
it
Yeah, a
is
sure.
lot
studio
of people
quote.
like that movie.
Yeah, maybe I'm
Same how
just
it's-
like out of the loop on that
Like,
one.
it was
I'm
a
not that
studio
hot on that
film.
movie, but I think people really do like that movie.
yeah,
I like the
like-
one-liners.
I think it's good.
Sidekicks, like what else did they put out?
That's the one
Show-
I'm missing, and
Show
it's funny
Girls.
Cloak and
because
Dagger. Like these are
Showgirls.
all like studio cult films.
I
Daryl,
loved.
that's a
I
studio cult
loved
film.
the Showgirls release. I was so happy.
yeah,
with
I
that.
was happy to get that too. Actually,
Showgirls,
I always
exactly.
like.
What an amazing release
I
that
always
was.
love Showgirls.
So it looked so nice too.
Yeah, I
I
still
was
need
like
to watch one,
blown
but-
away like by how good, like even without the replacement disc. Like I'm too dumb to catch the audio on that, I guess.
Oh yeah, I don't give a shit about that. Like
Cloak
never
and
knew about
Dagger,
that.
when Cloak and Dagger got announced, I almost shit my pants because like I have the old original DVD of it, but like I grew up literally when that movie was first being played and shit, like I used to fucking just have it on repeat. So we had these movie channels and Cloak and Dagger would play all the time. And I watched that shit all fucking day.
and that package is so nice because it's like made after the arcade game and shit.
Yeah, I
It's
couldn't
so
believe
colorful.
that movie
Yeah.
got that treatment, dude. I couldn't fucking believe it. Like
I-
in my wildest dreams, I never would have thought.
I've
right?
almost picked that up a bunch of. They still have copies of it like in the case. Like
Oh,
at
I
the
still have
Vinegar Syndrome
Sidekicks actually,
store.
which is funny because
Yeah,
I own every Chuck Norris movie up until Sidekicks. That's the
Damn.
one I don't have, and I'm just like because I remember watching Sidekicks when it came out and hated it.
Tony loves that movie.
Oh yeah, it was my number one physical release of last year.
Yeah, so I
That's
haven't
like-
seen
that's
it, but the thing is,
straight
I haven't
childhood
seen it
favorite.
since. You got to remember,
Mine was
Sidekicks-
Showgirls.
when did Sidekicks come out? What year? 94?
92.
92. So, oh no, I guess Top Dog's after that, right? Top Dog's after
Mhm.
92. Yeah, so I have Top Dog, but yeah, I hated it, and I haven't probably seen it since then. So I was 12 years old, going fuck this movie. But so it's been 32 years since I've seen it. Probably
That's a
probably
long
due
time.
for a rewatch on that shit. Who knows? I might
Yeah.
appreciate it more. But I mean, there's it takes on a different persona though too because what's his name, the lead actor in the film, he's dead now, and it's just and sometimes that helps. And I'm a big Chuck. I just remember loving Chuck Norris, and then seeing this, I'm going, what the fuck is this? Like, I want Chuck Norris. I want the Chuck Norris back. Coming off all these great fucking movies, and then that, and then I was like, no, it just wasn't into it.
I think you'll definitely appreciate it on a second watch
Yeah.
because it's basically just about like Jonathan Brandis, the kid, like
Jonathan Brandis, yeah.
and
Oh,
he's
he's in
just
that too. That kid was such a good actor.
Mhm. And yeah, like knowing what happened to him and how sad like his life ended up being, like it is nice to watch the movies he was in, and it does help with like rewatches. Like same with that in Ladybugs with Rodney
I
Dangerfield.
love Ladybugs.
Like that
Ladybugs
movie
is
is an
good.
absolute
Funny.
classic.
Yeah, I used to watch that all the time growing up.
I didn't see that until like 2 years ago, maybe. And I had no, and I like I didn't know anything about it. And like that first scene when like his kid's got the wig on, he's running around on the girls' team. I fucking lost it.
It's so funny.
You could
I
never
love Rodney
today.
Dangerfield. That dude was a treasure.
That movie is insane because it's literally a joke a minute. Like every other line out of his mouth is a fucking punchline. It's just like so rapid.
Oh, he's like the
fire.
punchline king, man.
Dude, there's
It's
just
so
like
good.
so many jokes that like not for me, but like that just like ages like milk and that like that just sent me over the edge.
Like the scene where he's like in the dressing room with Jonathan Brandis. He's like, your mother's gonna kill me when she finds out about this.
Dude, like there's a part where like there's like an Asian goaltender, and at the end, like she just like becomes like an all-star goalie. He's like, oh, she turned into the Great Wall out there. Like I fucking lost it.
Oh, we gotta stop talking about this shit. But yeah, Sidekicks is good. One thing, Moodz, that you'll really appreciate that you won't as a 12-year-old is Joe Piscopo, who's like the main villain of like the rival dojo. That is a role that you can only appreciate as an adult. He is so funny.
Right. That's awesome. All right. So Tyler, you got one for us?
Yeah. So this month I had Red Rock West, which ended up I didn't really think too deeply about it, but this was like the perfect thing that could have been for me because outside of horror, even like arguably more now, just because I've seen like so few movies like this compared to like horror films, like noirs and neo-noirs, like my absolute favorite genre. That's like my like bread and butter. Like they're not really films you generally have to think too deeply about, and they're just like usually very like plot driven and very entertaining. And there's just like a lot of different shades of them. And this one is kind of like still like its own unique version. A lot of these like going back to like when noirs began, a lot of them are like kind of like inner city like detective movies. And then as like the genre progressed and you kind of got into the end of like the late 50s and they started to like incorporate more elements and like use more color. They became what you call now neo noirs, and this is just kind of a continuation of films like that. And they really like kind of encapsulate all things. Like there's more like pop drama driven ones, there's more like surrealist ones, and this is like but a lot of it, a lot of them are mostly like things that take place like in cities, I would say. This one's a little different because it takes place and it's Wyoming, I believe, in this, but it kind of has that like hot southern atmosphere to it. That's something that I've seen in some other neo noir films, but it's still not like a common trait. So I really like that about it. It set itself apart from that. This movie's got a really, really, really good cast. It's directed by John Dahl. This was his Hollywood debut. He had one other film before this, which was also noir called Kill Me Again. I had Val Kilmer, and I'd never heard of it until I was like watching the special features on this. But yeah, it's led by Nick Cage, who was really hot shit at the time. He was coming just off of David Lynch's Wild Heart. He'd already done stuff like Rumblefish. He'd already been in an
Vampire's
Oscar,
Kiss, best performance ever.
He'd already been in like Oscar-winning movies like Moonstruck. So like he was kind of hot shit at this time. This is '93.
Racing Arizona too.
Yeah, so he was a name, and I guess he really got the part to this movie, because his uncle Francis Ford Coppola, you might know from films like The Godfather, and Apocalypse Now, saw John Dahl's first movie, play like at some indie Bay theater, theater in the Bay Area, and there was some sort of connection where like somebody knew Nick Cage when they were casting for this. And because like his uncle told him that like, oh, I saw his other movie, he guy seems like a really good director, you should do it, that kind of pushed him into the part. It's also he kind of goes opposite aside Dennis Hopper as a more of a villain in this character, or a villain character in this movie. Dennis Hopper's kind of just like born to be a villain. He's played a villain in several other noir movies, neo noir movies. He's directed neo noir movies. He's the guy that really has his fingerprints all over the genre, and he just does it like so. Dennis Hopper does Dennis Hopper like better than anyone. It's redundant as that sounds, like you just know when you see Dennis Hopper, like nobody could do Dennis Hopper like him.
There's like one line in this movie that I'm like still quoting to this day, and he's eating a turkey sandwich and he just says, turkey, one of my favorites. And just like the most Dennis Hopper way.
He just like he has this like incredible.
It's also the context of it too. He literally had just shot someone in the fucking head. Like that's the most sociopathic shit ever.
Turkey.
He has this way of just being like so like darkly comedic and terrifying, like at the same time. Like he kind of has this way of like talking where he's always yelling at you. It's really great. Yeah, he's really great. He's really great in this movie. If you ever seen the film Blue Velvet, he's basically like his character in Blue Velvet as a hitman, as like a Texas hitman. It's the same exact character. It's great. So if you see that, that's exactly what you're in for. I've also got JT Walsh in it, who's a really good character actor. He died kind of young, so he didn't really like have like the most like spotlighted career. But he's in a lot of movies like this. He's in this one. He plays like a villain in this movie too. That's kind of always like the character he's always played, kind of like the aristocratic billionaire. Think like a John Bradshaw Layfield character.
Yeah, he's also like a really good unhinged actor. Like this is the unhinged actors like movie.
Yeah. So he's in this really terrific movie called House of Games that's also neo-noir, where he plays like the same type of just like conniving character. He's just great in that. Yeah, it's a late 80s one. It's got like Joe Mantegna, and it's a good movie. It's more of a crime one. It's more like a mystery.
I said Joe Mantegna.
Yeah. But then capped off with Laura Flynn Boyle, who kind of just plays like the femme fatale type woman in this movie. And yeah, she does her part. She was a really good look for the time. She was just coming off of Twin Peaks, so she fit in really nicely with this cast. So basically, you have Nick Cage coming to town, and he's a drifter. This is like a really classic neo-noir trope, a drifter coming into town.
Also a Western narrative.
Yeah, I'll get to, because this is something I didn't really even catch until I started watching the special features. So yeah, he comes into town, and immediately it kind of shows you like Nick Cage is a lot more honest, and he's a little bit different from the people in this small kind of like out for yourself town. He comes looking for a job on an oil rig, and you find out he has an injured knee, like a permanently like disabled one that like prevents him from getting a career going there. So he's basically out of luck, and he gets enough gas, and he uses his last bit of money to like get gas to go to the nearest town, which is Red Rock West, which is top population of like just a hair over 1,500. And you see it, and he's got a Texas license plate. He's from Texas, is up here in Wyoming. And he pulls into this bar, and comes in, and he takes a seat. He takes a seat at the bar, and the guy says, "Are you Lyle from Texas?" And he kind of keeps going, and he's like, "Well, are you here for the job?" And he just got like rejected from this job, so, and he's like, he's out of money, so like, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm Lyle from Texas," and he thinks it's just going to be like some bartending job or something. And what it actually is this character who's JT Walsh, the owner of the bar, hired a man from Texas named Lyle from Texas to kill his wife for $10,000, I believe it was, which seems like a really low amount of money, amount of dollars to kill someone.
Yeah, it was 10 grand.
Yeah. So
because my friend's mom offered 20 grand to kill her husband.
That seems.
I'm going to check the inflation calculator right now.
To you?
No, hell no.
Well, you never specified who.
This actually happened. My friend's mom got arrested for trying to have her husband killed. She was offering a guy like $20,000 to do it, and the guy was like, just thought she was like joking around. And then like when it got more serious, he went to the police. Fucked up thing about that is she said that it was because the dad was like abusive, and just a few months ago, after they split up, he married like a 20-some-year-old, and he's like 50-some. He just like shot and killed her like a month ago.
Damn.
Yikes.
So
it just got dark.
So yeah. new Dateline soon?
Holy shit.
Dude, I don't know.
That's a
bro. It
fucking
was, like,
Dateline right
crazy,
there.
man.
Breaking news.
I mean, this dude used to take me to like skateboarding and stuff when I was a kid.
Holy shit.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I just checked the inflation calculator. 10 grand today is about $23,000.
Damn, 23.
So it's about the correct rate.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's
that just seems low to me to like kill a person.
That's like
Right. I'm not going to
408.
kill anybody for that. Are you
Yeah,
kidding me?
like that's not like a life-changing amount of money.
Dude, it would take me.
I'll get hit by a
23
car and get more than that.
I would need like 100 million to take the risk.
Like
I think about over a
And-
million.
that's just
and-
like 20,000 does not seem like a convincing amount of money. It's even just rounded up to 25,000. Like that doesn't seem like a very convincing amount of money to do something like that.
Maybe
And I
Dennis
would
Hopper
need to
just
know
puts
that
too
the
many hits
person
out.
was like an ass, like
Yeah.
a bad person. Like
Especially
maybe if
if
it was
it's-
like maybe if it was like like some sort of like sexual assault guy
But
or
like
something.
you figure too, like a person you're hiring to do this, like this is your profession. Like you should be getting a premium rate here.
Yeah, if you're a hitman.
But even
Yeah.
knowing that like he's only offering 10 grand, given what we know later in the film too, is complete garbage.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
this
fuck
guy's a-
JT Walsh.
He's a fucking cheap motherfucker. Like
so yeah.
3,000 inflation, that's what, like 450,000 Canadian or some shit. So I mean, fuck, it's like whatever for me. But
So yeah, JT Walsh offers money to kill wife. So what does Nick Cage do being the honest guy? Nick Cage goes to his wife, who is Laura Flynn Boyle, and he says, "You should watch out because your husband just gave me 10 grand to kill you." And she's like, "Holy shit, please don't do that." And says, "Here's 10 grand. Can you go kill him instead?" And Nick Cage is like, "Absolutely." But Nick Cage doesn't really actually want to get involved in this, so he's like, "Okay, I have 20 grand. I'm just gonna leave, so and take this money and get out of here, and they can figure all that out later." So he goes to do that. You see him leaving Red Rock West, and then he hits someone off. He hits someone on the side of the road who walks in front of his car trying to stop him.
having
Who-
a conscience sucks, man.
So instead of just going, Nick Cage, who they have shown us, he had a chance. Oh, he had a chance at the beginning of the money to take some money when the guy filling up his car wasn't looking. So like that
Yeah.
was the big thing they showed you. Like this guy's honest. So he's like, I can't leave this guy here, and he brings him to the hospital, and he just says, I hit him with my car. Like he's in the road. Like this is what happened, and they're like, well, can you explain why he has 2 bullets in him? So that's where the plot starts to thicken. And then, with that new information, Nick Cage starts to find himself in danger. And I'm gonna stop talking about the plot right here because this movie is very like twisty and turny written, and it's kind of that's where the movie really lives on, where it differentiates itself from a lot of movies like this. It's very like kind of like twist and like writing driven and less like atmospheric or like symbolic, I would say.
It has
But-
it has more twists and turns than any type of roller coaster ever.
Yeah,
been.
it's
crazy.
That's
dude.
like what the movie is. It's just so it's like it's probably best like as little as possible. Like this
Mhm.
is the setup. But a little bit further along the line comes and you run into the real Lyle from Hitman, who is the Dennis Hopper character. And right away, like like this guy's insane. Nick Cage and him end up in a car where Nick Cage figures out who he is and he doesn't know who Nick Cage is. And it goes into like a more tense place from there. But yeah, from here on out, the movie just like it keeps twisting and turning. There's like betrayals, there's like red herrings, there's twists, and it just kind of like winds itself until it gets to a place that really like it ends like pretty poetically, and I liked it a lot. Overall, this movie was pretty good. 2 movies that immediately came to mind like watching this were Blood Simple and Body Heat. They're both
2
like
great
these-
ones.
Yeah, they're like those are other like really good films in the genre. I think this kind of like fits right in there. And those movies are like really similar in the sense where it's like again, it's like kind of this like outside character, and in this like hot, like smoky atmospheric place, like as like in being like alone in this whole situation, and There is like a little romance line in Red Rock West, which I really didn't care for in both those movies. It's developed a lot better. One of my bigger pet peeves in this movie is when it kind of is like a 90s like problem, I think, is they kind of like try to like shoehorn sometimes some like sex scenes to make it like sexy. It's kind of just it doesn't really always fit. But it's like more developed in like those other movies. But this, I don't think this movie's trying to be that movie because those are like more atmospheric. Where this one is more like, I don't want to use like Hitchcockian because it's not like a Hitchcock movie, but it's written like from that more like suspenseful, like twisty turny type of way. So with there's a lot of really good features on here. Probably the best two is there's two different new interviews. One's with John Dahl, and one's with his brother, and they wrote the movie together. And I kind of found like the supplemental features on this like just as interesting as the movie, if not more. Um, so like I get him and his I John himself was a giant fan of noirs, and he was mostly influenced by that when he wrote this. Like his biggest influence was Double Indemnity, which is like one of the all-time great noirs. That's the same. That's another one that's like it's more atmospheric in this movie, but it's written kind of like in the same like really like suspenseful like twisty turny way, and there's a lot of parallels to this. And his brother was a big fan of westerns, like Moodz had brought up, and that's something I didn't hear really caught in that movie because like yeah, it really is like a western like as far as setting wise. But I just kind of like my mind immediately went to like Blood Simple, like Body Heat because I'd
Well,
seen that setting.
for me, somebody that's watched a shit ton of westerns, the contrast for me was him rolling up in his what is he driving, like a Cadillac or something? I don't know, I can't remember what he's
I
driving.
don't remember.
But instead of riding into the town on a horse, it was his car, and then just given that setup, it was the exact same thing. He's a drifter. It's just it's a modern day western, a lot of twists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super
Well,
super like soft spoken, doesn't really say
yeah.
much.
Well,
Well, the
he's
biggest
totally that
thing,
character with a conscience. Like he wants to do the right thing, right? He's that that kind of stereotypical drifter character that just wants to make everything right. So hence when
yeah,
he hits the dude, like he didn't have to he could have taken off. He had 20 grand that he had taken, which would have got him in shit anyways, but he wanted to do the right thing. That's his character, right? So you see that a
If
lot in
only he
westerns.
would have checked the guy first.
so it
Yeah,
was like it was really
he was
interesting,
riddled.
like
Mhm.
how they were talking about like how they wrote this movie, because they kind of came together for this setting, and one of them wrote the character, and then they just kind of both like neither of them were really like professional screenwriters, so they kind of just said, okay, and what do we do next? And then what do we do next? And they both kind of had like their own influences. His brother Rick, his biggest influence, he said in this was The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, which is really crazy when you think about if you've seen this. There's a plot device like at the end and where the movie ends up that is very similar to The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, which is
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah,
So I that's like literally that's like inner circle, like top 10 favorite movies like I've ever
right.
seen. So like that was cool for them to point out and like how it shared some influence with that. And I really did see that once I saw that it was mentioned. But that was kind of an interesting way of like writing where they just kind of just continually challenge themselves to say like how do we get here? And that's where like a lot of the twist came from. Like, well, what if we made this guy also this guy? And that's like kind of where the
Right.
hospital scene sets everything off. And that was just shit that they were like fireballing. Ah, but yeah, those are definitely the better special features on there. There's also some video essays, but for the video essays, maybe someone less familiar with noirs might get a little more, or someone who hadn't already explored the other things like that this came with, because it kind of like that stuff was a little. They kind of just like went over the movie and said like, well, he sees the money and this symbolizes this, and I think a lot of the things that they kind of like talk about are things that like are pretty intuitive to the viewer anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of this stuff like is just like, well, this is a trope of this, and it just I think a lot of the stuff like once you like listen just to them talk about it with the writers talk about it and the director, it just you get all this information anyway, but you get a more personal feel to it. So I like those more than anything. Same thing with the book I like the way these look, by the way. As J cards aside, like the way like you can pull these out, and then they're like a book inside, and they all have like a bunch of essays and pictures between essays. So that's always cool to check out. I kind of feel the same about the essays on this release in particular, where they kind of do just almost like run down the plot and break down like little things scene by scene, or like meetings and scene by scene. But again, I don't think there's anything. I don't think like this movie's very entertaining, but I don't think this is the deepest movie. So there's only like so much to dissect, and there's not really like anything that I felt like they were like bringing to the table. But it is like someone might enjoy it a little more than me. And they did also like there's a lot of recommendations that you get from people just saying what what they got out of this movie. Like through all these essays, a lot of these movies that like I already spoke about were named in here. But like Body Heat is one that only I like came up with like watching this. So people definitely pull different influences out of here. There's more movies they talk about in here. So that's
Body Double
or Body Heat. I meant. I was the only one. I was the only like I didn't see that mentioned in any of the books. That was just a comparison I made, is what I'm saying. So
That's
like,
the William
Body
Hurt movie, right?
Yeah, the one with William Hurt, Kathleen Turner. It's like it's more of like a femme fatale.
What's
like,
on the back of it?
Super sultry that
so
movie.
The back of it. This is the problem with the J cards. That's how I was kind of getting to that. The back of it.
I haven't taken mine off yet because it's actually
I don't
like,
want to take
pretty
it off.
well.
That's
so I'm just like fuck whatever.
I had to take mine off because my back of my J card was kind of bowed because they like didn't like put it all the way flat before putting the tape on.
Shitty.
So I listen to this shit. So I started to take the tape off the top and I took the non-sticky, like it ripped the tape in half. So like the adhesive part was still onto the case, but I ripped the plastic. I'm like, fuck this shit. So I took them both off and I put them in a folder and I said, fuck it.
Yeah, I posted a video in a Vinegar Syndrome group. And it seems like most people do not like this style of J card, especially that they are numbered.
Yeah, I don't like that they did that. It doesn't make sense to me that
I didn't take it off because I was like, well, it's stuck on because a lot of J cards sometimes will only come with like one like the bottom sticky and the back will be like floating. You ever get those?
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck is it? And then it just basically forces you to take it off. But this one is actually, it's got it's taped on both. But I'm like, I don't think there's anything back there that I care. But I'm like, I'm like, I don't give a fuck about numbers, but it's cool to see that you actually have a numbered thing. Like, I don't care. I'm not that person. I'm like, I'm gonna trade mine in for a lower number because I'm fucking weird and like stupid.
I tell you guys what though, I feel really good about doing it, so you guys should too. Put that shit in a folder and then just fucking forget about it.
You know what, man? I'm gonna start up an eBay.
This is the thing.
Let me ask you this: does it have
I have a fucking brand new house in slipcovers.
Does it have the description of like the features and stuff on the regular back though?
No, it just has.
It's just more art.
It's just art. Yeah.
Problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the same thing like on like Southern Comfort or something where it's just all art. There's no description.
No, Arrow's bad for that. They'll put up box sets.
Oh yeah, but there's nothing like in here.
And the J card, and it's not even attached to the. It's just like floating. Like you have to take it off.
Yeah,
I know that shit's so annoying.
It's so stupid. At least this one is taped on both sides. So I'm like, if you just keep it like this, it's secured. It's not all fucked up.
It's just, I think that was their idea to put like special features on it because of the other design of this, where it just doesn't actually have like
I think
like the design of it. Just because of the design of it, I guess, like, yeah, you can't, like, it's not like a regular, like, case where you could then also just, like, put the specs on it. But, like, you easily could have just had a page in here that had the specs.
Exactly.
I don't think
these are big. These are really big. I wasn't expecting it to be, to a standard Blu-ray.
Yeah,
so
I think
if anybody out there,
like,
that's the difference. Like how much bigger it is.
Oh yeah,
and wider and wider. Like there's room on both sides. It's crazy how big this. I was like, holy shit, this is. I didn't get that from when people were showing it before, and then I got it. I was like, well, that's not going to fit anywhere.
Is this a DVD size?
So, maybe that's a good.
It's probably is.
Yeah, it's probably about as tall. I
think it's wider though.
Oh, for sure. It's like the widest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's big. It's just like Vinegar Syndrome is the king of creating so many different lines and packages where you're like, well, nothing fits together. Your collection looks so like, I mean, if you're super,
See, I wish they would have just like made. So I think they wanted them to like stand out on first glance. So I wish they would have just made like this part right here
Part of
like
the art.
art of the art, yeah, and just like that's how they all kind of had like this like
I
look
kind of agree with
up
that.
front.
You could give it
And
a clear slipcase too, with just the art.
oh yeah, you could. I don't really like those honestly. I don't like the clear slip cases.
I don't mind them. I have one for I think Turbo Kid or something like that. I
I have
actually
one
like
on
that
a
one.
box set, and it's really weird.
I have the Reservoir Dogs one where it's his ear that's on the,
Oh, I
the
have
clear
that. Yeah, I
slip
have
one.
that one, but I have that one displayed, so I have it off.
What did you rate Red Rock West?
So Red Rock West is really good. It's not amazing. There's some better ones kind of from the time period in the genre, but it is very good and it fits in there. I'd give it a 7.5.
All right.
Do you guys think you said Red Rock West more or Red Walk West more?
Dude, everybody does it. I was just gonna
It's
say,
so hard to
JP,
say.
don't feel bad that you fucked it up because I fucking say that all the time too. Red Walk Rest.
Red Walk West.
Right at the beginning, I caught myself from saying that. I was like, no.
You
Red
have to think
Rock
about when you're
West.
saying
Yeah.
Red Rock West. You literally do. It's fun.
Yeah,
It's
I
kinda
say
tough
all
to
the
say.
like not only am I messing up walk, but I'm messing up rest. Or I'm saying rest instead of west.
You can't even say that he's saying it. That's fucking
Oh,
great,
shit.
man. That's fucking hilarious. What did you give it, Tyler?
I give it 7.5.
7.5. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that's on me. So what I got for y'all's tonight is a double feature Hong Kong films. I believe the first one came out in 1991. Yeah, so that'd been 1991. So, directed by Stephen Shin, and it's called Black Cat. Quick little history on it if you're not familiar with Black Cat. It is essentially a remake to La Femme Nikita, the French film from 1990. The Chinese got right on that fucking kick, and they said, fuck it, man, that was a popular ass movie, let's remake that shit. And it's crazy because they got in before the Americans, because the Americans remade that film in 1993 called
Point of No Return.
Point of No Return with Bridget Fonda.
Oh, baby.
So they made the same movie, well, essentially the same idea 3 times in like 3 years. It's crazy. So, and they do differ though. I mean, the idea is the same with Black Cat to La Femme Nikita, but it's just the main characters are a little bit different. I think in La Femme Nikita, from what I remember, is like the main character was a drug addict and stuff. This one, her rage is fueled through just a different element, right? And it's almost like a feral rage. It's kind of crazy. But a lot of the elements are the exact kind of same thing with the CIA assassin and stuff like that. So, but it's been a long time since I've seen La Femme Nikita, so I can't do a direct comparison. I just remember certain things. So what we got here is our main character. I think, what is her name at the beginning of this? Because her name changes so damn much. Erica. Anyways, she's working in the diner, and she's you can tell she's pretty angry. She's pretty angry, and it's fueled by, she's got a shitty ass boss. He fucking totally is like calling her down and shit like that to make things worse. There's this truck driver in the diner, and he is being very misogynistic, and he pushes her limits to the point where, it goes to the point where she ends up killing this fucking guy in this crazy ass battle. Totally
That guy
loses
had
her.
like the weirdest accent I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
I could not pinpoint where the fuck that guy came from.
It is odd. It is very odd. But this opening scene is just batshit crazy. Like, it just kind of gets into the film. Like, she's got rage, man. Like, she's raging on her boss, and then fucking, he kicks her out of that shit, and then we have this great scene where she's basically kind of accepting that, this prostitution thing, and she fucking ends this guy's fucking will to live. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, so in this fucking rage, she ends up killing a cop, gets fucking arrested and shit like that. And which is so crazy, man, when she's at this cop station, and that whole scene, the scene where she's in the police station and there's the women police officers, is so awkward. It's such an awkward scene, but it really plays into the whole, it's almost like a racial thing too. But you got these 4 female cops, and they're like, tell her to strip down, spread your legs, and shit like that. And it just doesn't go good. It does not go good there. She ends up fucking just beating the shit out of this one cop and shit like that, trying to make her escape. And she does, kind of. And then she gets bucked down. She gets bucked down. She gets a new lease on life. She wakes up with a new lease on life, basically. And what happens is the CIA is basically taking ownership of her. And what they have done to revitalize her is they implanted a chip into her head and decided that they want to make her an assassin for the CIA because of her rage and her will to be, just so aggressive and shit like that. They saw something in her. So this whole opening sequence is just fucking batshit. It's very similar to La Femme Nikita from what I remember, but the main character is a lot different. Like I said, she is almost like a feral character, so fucking aggressive and just nasty and brutal and shit like that. And I love that approach better than the drug addict thing. It's something I always said with the Evil Dead remake, man. I couldn't fucking stand our lead so much. It drives me nuts in that film. But I feel like this is a lot better. Like her rage was driven by society in the way it was portrayed to her, and make a good assassin. Why not? Why not turn her into this, right? So where it differs too is from the original is it takes the sci-fi element with the chip and it kind of rolls with that and stuff. And so now they go through this whole training program. She becomes a CIA assassin and stuff, and she goes on these missions and stuff. And we got her film. I will say, the lead actress here, I can't remember what her name is. She did a really, really good job, Jade Lang, for not really having much acting experience. I learned this from the special features. I didn't know that she really didn't know what the fuck she was doing at all, acting wise and in doing action films. She was not trained as a martial artist. She was nothing. So generally when you do, these type of action martial arts films, they do a lot of pre-production in, doing choreographing and stuff. They get, there's a whole production of choreographed fight scenes and stuff. So people don't get hurt. And, it's obvious what's going on there. So she said in her interview is that she would show up to the set and they would basically show her how to do certain kicks and moves and stuff like that. And then they would, shoot the scenes. It was like on fucking set. I'm like, what is this? David Lynch's fucking Inland Empire? Like,
holy shit. That's incredible.
So the opening scene in the film, yeah, this is what, like, I wanted to mention this when I was talking about the action sequences. So knowing this, I was like, holy fuck. So she starts talking about the opening sequence, and the opening sequence when she has this battle with the truck driver, and before she kills him, he picks her up for real, and he fucking throws her against a pinball machine. That's fucking her doing her, and she does like 90% of her own stunts in the film too, which is crazy.
Was she the one that went through the window in the bar, or was he the one that went through the window in the bar?
I think she goes through the window.
Because I think she got thrown through a window too on top of the pinball machine.
They didn't talk about that stunt, but they talked about like all the other ones and stuff. But I'll get into some of the other stunts. But I was so blown away by this, and they didn't let her know when he picked her up and threw her against a pinball machine to like clinch up so your head doesn't go back and shit. Because she's fucking new. She's like, she kept saying like, I'm a newbie. I didn't know what I was doing. She got really hurt in that scene for real. Like that scene that's in the film, she got hurt because her head snapped back and actually hit that fucking pinball machine and got hurt. And like, oh shit, well, you got to fucking tense up and you do this. So anyways, they did some tests. She was okay. so further on,
CT doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, more fight sequences. She would show up to the set and they'd be like, hey, this is what we're doing. Like the stunt people would be like, hey, this is how you fight. And then she'd go and do it. And then that her in that film is basically just mimicking what she was taught before they shot it. So I was like blown away. She did all the white water, when she's in the water, she did half the bridge stunt. It's not her falling off the bridge. That was one of the stunts that she didn't do, but she did the leading up to that. But her in the water, that's her in the water for real. No preservatives, nothing. That you could die. The other crazy thing about this film that I just blew my fucking mind, that's really her on the crane arm without a wire.
Yo.
You went up there and did that without a wire.
I'm like blown away by hearing all this shit.
Dude, she's a new actress. She's a new actress and doing this shit. Like she picked up the shit like crazy because she looks legit in the film when she's doing her fight sequences. And like the way she acts and stuff, like her rage, like the way her facial expression, like she does a really good job considering she didn't really know how to act. Like she got the part based on her look and just certain things, but they really had to give an idea of what they wanted, and she just kind of did that for the film. And this is what we got. I was like, oh my God. But that crane scene, I almost fucking, it almost blew my shitter out knowing that she wasn't wired in on that. I was like, that's pretty damn nuts considering how high she was. Like she could have died, obviously. So in that whole sequence, I'm not going to give it away what happens in that whole sequence, but that's pretty damn cool. It's kind of cheesy, but like overall in the film Black Cat, like it's an assassin film. I think the movie's really, really good up until she basically it gets all relationshipy. And I understand why they did this in the narrative because her character, when she wakes up in the hands of the CIA, she's kind of like a drone, but not really. She's being controlled, really. So they wanted to prove that she's human, that she still has this aspects of being human and stuff. So they wanted to put this relationship stuff in there. But to me, man, it kind of took away from her character that was so awesome in the first half of the film. She was very aggressive and very like just awesome. And like the scene where she goes and kills the bride at the Jewish wedding is fucking awesome. Dude, she walks in.
Hell yeah, that scene was so good because it was so suspenseful because you didn't know who her target was the entire time. It's like she could kill the fucking flower girl for all you know.
Right. Right. And it was so awesome. She walks in, and that whole sequence after leads into everything else. And it's pretty fucking sweet, man. It's awesome. But and she's just so full of rage. And I love it, her acting. I keep bringing it up because that's kind of part of the transition in the film when she gets the boyfriend who's like this. What the fuck is the boyfriend anyways? He's like he's a photographer he watches birds and shit. I don't even really know what his profession actually is.
So basically what happened was she was like on an assassination attempt. She like shot this guy who was like bird watching in a boat with like some weird fucking projectile bullet that like somehow makes him die from natural causes.
Ice bullets.
Oh, ice bullet.
So what it is the CIA came up with an ice bullet, and what it is, it's literally a bullet that's made of ice. And so when you take it out of its ice casing, you have to shoot within 5 seconds because it'll dissolve. And the idea is when it hits you and kills you, it leaves like no traces of anything. You have no idea how the fuck you died.
Incredible.
It's pretty sci-fi. It's pretty fucking sci-fi.
That's like some John F. Kennedy shit.
Yeah, it's pretty sci-fi shit, actually. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
But yeah, this guy was just taking pictures of birds or some shit, and he like photographed her coming back from killing that guy. So that's kind of what like stirred up that relationship.
Yeah. So she falls for him. And I think what the director's trying to do is showcase that she's very human. Still, she can be a human. She doesn't have to have all this rage and stuff like that. But then, that kind of transpires into a cool but kind of corny ending where, she's so good at her job that she doesn't do what she's supposed to do, given the orders. You know what I mean? I don't want to give it away if you haven't seen it, but I mean, it is what it is. But another really interesting note from the special features, actually, there's a scene where they're in like some hot springs and stuff. She was in the hot springs for so long and they were so fucking hot that she actually blistered up and got burnt. That's how hot the water was. She was in there so long and soldiered it out and got all fucked up. I was like, man, like just being a newbie to the game, dude.
Absolutely. Right, she's just willing to do literally anything.
Yeah. And I mean, she obviously did a good job because she actually became super famous from this film, and she won a ton of awards, for being a new actor and like not having the experience as an action, kung fu artist and stuff like that. Like she did really, really fucking good in this, man. But, I think her performance in this film is so great. And that's what makes the sequel so odd, because she doesn't get to do what she did in this film. Like I love the feral Erica or, Black Cat kind of character and stuff like that. I think it's fucking fantastic, but lots of good sequences in this. I like the first half of the film a lot better. I'm going to if I had to rate this one, I'm going to give it probably like a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's solid as hell. The other weird thing about this film is that, so when you play it, like it's filmed in Vancouver. So where I live, essentially. So I'm watching the film and I see some of the training. I'm like, did they film this in Vancouver? And I just kind of let it go for a while. And then I saw Pacific Boulevard and I was like, oh, for fuck's sakes, it's totally shot in Vancouver. So yeah, they shot this and they shot the sequel in Vancouver besides the stuff that they shot. I think on the mountain they shot in Russia, that whole James Bond scene in the second one. Oh, I think that was done in Russia, but yeah, they shot that one in Vancouver. So I think they shot these pretty much back to back too. Like not back to, because her natural hair is actually quite a bit longer, but it's pretty close in proximity. But Pretty cool though, man. I think it's pretty decent for what it is. The music in the film though, man, like it feels like fucking TV music. Again, it doesn't feel like a big production, which it's, it's essentially not, but it feels like TV kind of music and shit like that. So, but whatever. But I think it's pretty solid. Like, if you were to rate them, what would you give it, Tony? Because you watched it.
I think I was hovering around a 7.5 as well.
Yeah. I think
there's one thing of hers I do have to call out though. Like being a new actress and everything, it makes a lot of sense. But there's this one scene. It's like shortly before she like escapes or whatever. They're like holding her and she says, "I want to go pee," like literally 15 times in 15 seconds. It was the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. She's just I want to go pee. I want to go pee.
Yeah.
I want to go pee.
Yeah. I just love that they actually talk about it in the video essay too, about like, when she gets her revenge on, that big fat fucking female cop. And, they were talking about how her rage was fueled by, misogyny and stuff like that, which is totally true.
I'd love that scene.
But when she beats
it almost
the shit out of her
reminded me of like Brawl in Cell Block 99. It felt so raw to me.
Oh, it was great though, man. But they brought up the fact, I never thought about it until they said it, but they're like, when she beats the shit out of the cop with the nightstick and she gets her phallic revenge. And I was like, oh, that's great. That's fucking awesome. That's such a fucking good way of putting it. Total phallic revenge. But yeah, Black Cat is really good. I think for, like I said, again, it's a remake of Le Fen, Nikita. To a degree, this one kind of amps it up a little bit in the sci-fi and, certain elements. I think her character is a lot cooler because she's not, drug induced and stuff like that. But so we get Black Cat 2, which comes out the year later in 1992. And one thing I didn't bring up in the first one is that so the chip in her head was giving her really bad like brain pains and stuff. She would get like really sick from it and stuff. She had to take these drugs that were, specifically prescribed from the CIA to like kind of reduce the pain and stuff like that. So the idea in Black Cat 2 was to kind of fix these problems, but amp it up a little bit, make her more of a weapon. So they essentially put this new chip into her and it just drones her. It makes her she's like a female RoboCop essentially now.
Legit.
Like legit, man. Like she has like almost no emotion. Like the first film, like she starts out super feral, she's super aggressive and shit. Like she still has that by the end of the film. She shows the emotion, like, but in this film, essentially, they try to fix it, but they know what they're doing. They want to control it a lot more. It turns a lot more sci-fi. They can almost turn her off and on. Like if she does show aggression, they can just press a button and it literally fucking turns her off. So, her job now is to stop these Russian assassins who are all amped up. And the thing is with these Russian assassins, they've taken these drugs that are fueled with like radiation that has created like these monster physiques and shit like that. So this new chip that has been implanted in her can actually detect radiation. That's the story. So that's how they're going to get these Russian assassins that are going after Boris Yeltsin. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this is the most ridiculous storyline in the fucking world right away. I was like, oh my God. So that's what we get here. And this movie it's so bizarre because her character is supposed to be the lead character in the film, but it's really not. Like the lead in this film is played by, I always want to call him Liu Kang. He's Liu Kang from fuck. Yeah, it's like Robin. What's
Robin
his name?
Chu.
Yeah, Robin Chu. Yeah, he's Liu Kang in the Mortal Kombat. That's how I know him.
Oh yeah, everybody knows him that way. Or Beverly Hills Ninja.
Right, and Beverly, yeah, exactly. So that right away I was like, oh, it's Liu Kang. It's funny because I actually just showed off Mortal Kombat in my last update too, which is the weirdest fucking coincidence. But anyways, so yeah, so their job is to go after these. But man, but this thing opens up with this crazy ass scene where these Russian assassins assassinate this guy that the CIA is watching and stuff like that. Shit goes totally wrong. it's all like sci-fi and robotic too. Like these guys got these crazy masks and shit like that. But it turns into this crazy James Bond scene where it's like snowboarders versus skiers on this mountain, and it's fucking like totally elevated budget. Like the budget is fucking nuts on this. It's crazy. I thought it was pretty cool. Like the stunts were nuts. It goes on forever. It's pretty cool. This movie feels a lot bigger in that sense. But the problem is with the movie for me is that Black Cat's character takes a backseat to Liu Kang. I'm just going to call him Liu Kang. And
yeah, he's the star.
Like he's kind of the star of the film because her character now is so robotic, so RoboCopy, and she's so controlled now that she doesn't talk. There's no aggression there. She doesn't talk, so her character has to take a back seat to this new lead in the CIA. And right away I was like, fuck, man, like I'm so disappointed with that because I loved her character. That's what I loved about the first film was her aggression, her fucking feralness and shit. So I'm like, okay. But then, the action sequences start in this film and it's very, very highly, influenced by Shaw Brothers and stuff. Like the action sequences amp themselves up from being like an American action film to like old school Shaw Brothers, where you got people jumping up and flying through the air and drop kicking and shit. And it was like, oh fuck. I mean, and I love Shaw Brothers. I love that type of, like kung fu shit and stuff. It's like
it was really cool, like just having a mix between like Shaw Brothers and American action, like the flying kicks and shit with like gun violence and stuff like that. It was kind of cool.
And she brings up in an interview about how Hong Kong directors do so well with low budgets, creating a bigger sense of what they have to work with. And I agree with her completely because when you have these type of like grounded kung fu fights and action scenes and stuff, anybody can do it. Just it comes down to editing, really. But if you're gonna take these, make these scenes into what Shaw Brothers did, and you make like you elevate it by having these ridiculous, flying kicks and shit going through, it just kind of elevates where, you don't have the budget really to do those bigger things, but it kind of comes off like maybe you do, you know what I mean? Like the spectacle of it it shows differently. And she's like, yeah, the budget was a lot lower on this one, but it just looks a lot bigger. And I'm like, it's all because of what they did with the Shaw Brothers type stuff. It's pretty cool. I love that. And that really kind of got it for me, being a big Shaw Brothers fan. I'm like, wow, they really changed this film. They made it a lot more sci-fi. I think a lot of people might not like this one as much, given where they went with it, and she kind of takes a back seat, but I think it's just as brutal. I think there's some pretty good action sequences. There's some pretty good kills in this and stuff. There's this one scene that I actually laughed out loud at when the main assassin shoots. He shoots and she fucking shoots the bullet. Like that effect.
That was cool. I like watched that. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, it was shit like that. It was like, oh
like
man,
the
this is over the
bullets
top.
collided and exploded into like 100 different like mini shards, like ricocheting off the buildings and whatnot. It was sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty cool though, man. Pretty cool. I like the stunt that she did where she's basically running down the I guess it's the electrical line. Like I don't even know how to fucking explain that shit, man, but she goes on forever on that shit, dude. I'm like, wow, man, that's a fucking long ass stunt right there. That was pretty cool. But overall, I think I ended up kind of liking this one a little bit more than the first one, just in terms of the sheer elevated action. I don't like her character as much, but like I said, in comparison, we didn't get what I kind of thought was going to happen in this one. We're going to get like some fucking, elevated, bring her down to earth. She's actually human type shit in this one. It doesn't really go into that type of territory as much. But, overall, man, as a double feature, pretty fucking cool. Pretty fucking cool. And so I watched a video essay on the features talking about like these type of movies that were made at this time period. They didn't mention one, which I thought was actually kind of shitty, but they were talking about like female empowerment films, because they made Eva Destruction, right? It was kind of robotic sci-fi-ish, like Eva Destruction. And this is kind of on that level. It's like it became so sci-fi, became so female empowerment that, like we can do anything kind of thing. They talk about a few other ones and stuff, but the one they didn't mention was it Steel and Lace and Steel?
I knew you were gonna say
Steel and
Steel and
Lace.
Lace.
They didn't mention that one, and we just watched it, I think, for 1990, and you know, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And actually, Vinegar Syndrome released that one too, which plays
This
into
movie.
Vinegar Syndrome. Yes,
Yeah.
Steel and
movie.
Lace, and like I would read away, I was like, Steel and Lace, Steel and Lace. That one's fucking awesome too. It's like it's essentially kind of like a rape revenge, but it turns into like a robotic thing, and there's like this whole subgenre in the late 80s, early 90s of these women, these female empowerment films that are, you know, like created into these robotic things, and I'm like, holy shit, dude. I mean,
it's an entire genre.
That's a whole fucking show right there.
Robo
I couldn't believe it.
Tricks.
Yeah,
That'd be
exactly.
a really cool show.
So there's all these
Lady
things.
Terminator.
Well, yeah, Lady Terminator, exactly, which is a little bit before. But so yeah, pretty cool, but awesome double feature. Super fun. But the thing is, if you're a big fan of the first film and you've never seen the second one, I could see you being totally disappointed by, you know, where the narrative goes with the main character. It's very drony. It's a little bit disappointing in the action, but like if you're just there for the action and shit, for sure, man, it's pretty fucking awesome. I had a good time with this. So but the radiation, there's a great scene in this film where so she can track radiation, and they're driving around everywhere. It's in Vancouver. They're driving on Pacific. They're driving everywhere. Anyways, they go into, I believe, which is the Richmond Mall. And I'm like, I think that's Richmond Mall. Anyways, she what she thinks is what a terrorist. She walks into this fucking mall and just pops this old lady right in the fucking head in the middle of the fucking like mall. It turns out that the reason why she had radiation is because she had cancer.
Isn't it funny too? Like she like blows the old lady's fucking head off, and like all the blood splatter just blows into like a clown's face. Just out of nowhere. It's like, oh fuck.
It's so fucking bloody. I was like, oh my god, man, it's so brutal. But when they said she was just an old cancer patient, I was like, oh my god. I'm like, that's savage, dude.
The cool thing about that though is that they had an old lady gag in the first one, but it was a man dressed as an old lady with old lady makeup, and I thought that was really funny.
Right.
But in the second one, she's just blowing an old lady's head off.
Right. But yeah, like, what did I give the first one? 7? 7.5? 7? I'm gonna give this one a 7.5 too. Good double feature.
Sweet.
What would you give this one, Tony? Because you watched it.
Yeah, I'd give it a 7 too. I mean, like you said, the first movie, like when the romance angle comes in, it really does like come to like a screeching halt.
Yeah.
Because like the journey from her being just like an outcast, crazy girl that gets fucking drug into this crazy situation is so interesting and so awesome. And then just going through all the training montages and all this other shit, all of a sudden just to come to that, it's just like, okay.
The training montages was like the one thing that I remember from La Femme Nikita that I believe was kind of similar, like not similar what they did, but it's similar because there's a montage of training and stuff like that. But I thought like the exercise, I think it was in the plane, was actually kind of terrifying a little bit. I was like, damn, dude, that's fucked up. But I just think that her performance overall is so good in the first film. I think the action is kind of elevated in the second film. It's a lot bigger. It's a little bit more fun. Both of them have their pros and cons. You know,
I mean,
think,
honestly, like what you're talking about, like her being such an amateur, like all the stuff that she did in part 2, like over part 1, I think is almost even more impressive. Like with all like the Shaw Brothers-esque like action sequences and whatnot. Like I thought she was just an old school like vet. Like I didn't even look her up. I'm just like, okay, she's probably been in like 30 things.
Yeah, I think that she explains it away in the second one where she realizes that she can't show that like that raw emotion and be like so feral and craziness and shit. She's got to take this for a different approach. So the action had to kind of elevate her performance a little bit. But I think that like even her facial expressions and the way she dictates every fucking scene in the film as that, you know, that kind of mindless robot, you know, that RoboCop thing without the funny lines. She does a really damn good job. I think her performance is really good too. But yeah, I mean, honestly, they're very similar for myself. But I mean, I even read reviews that people fucking hate part 2. They fucking hate it.
I think that's crazy. Like the action scenes alone make up for like the lulls in part 1. Like that skiing sequence with like the shootout and everything, like it is just like a James Bond scene. But
Yeah.
in this one, you have exploding squibs and all this other crazy ass like blood that you will never see in a James Bond movie.
No,
so.
you'd never. Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't exactly. But like right when that shit started happening, I was like, holy fuck, it's a Bond film. It's totally a Bond film.
That scene was so cool.
It was so unexpected too. I didn't expect the second film to be having so elevated type of scenes, because the first one seems it seems very bubbly, like it's in a bubble, you know, kind of thing. Like, I mean, it has its moments and stuff, but this one just seemed way bigger, which I think the budget was lower on the second film, which is weird.
That's amazing.
So like it's just crazy. They probably blew the most of their budget just on that fucking Russian ski hill scene, to be honest. I mean, really, you think of how many people were involved in that and how much time it probably took to shoot that. It's pretty fucking crazy. Yeah, dude, like it's pretty fucking crazy, man. But yeah, great job, man. Great double feature. I didn't really show it off. I mean, I got to say, I'm not the hugest fan of the artwork on this.
I like the art. I've never seen the movie.
Not the hugest fan of it.
It really doesn't make sense when you watch it.
Yeah.
I mean,
because she's not scantily clad in any of these. Like, she's just like a roughneck girl.
There is a scene where she does run. I think that's when she escapes the police station or the court, whatever it is. And yeah, so she's in that. But I think that's the scene. But yeah, I don't know. Not the huge. I wish we had the original artworks for it.
I always love I always change it to the original when I can.
Me too.
I've noticed that with these VSAs, they've been doing that a lot recently, where they're not including the original art, like not even on like the reverse. Like,
that's one of the lines I pick up sometimes. I almost picked that up when I was in the store a couple weeks ago, but
that was one thing I loved about the 88 film Shaw Brother line, is that the original artwork was there. Oh fuck, dude, I love
so
original
clean.
Hong Kong artwork. Oh, it's so good. They
Oh,
always
do you have
the
that
coolest artwork.
Do you have that In the Line of Duty box set?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, it's got all that classic art, and then there's like a poster for like literally every movie it comes with. It's so sick.
Yeah, I gotta bust into it, man, because I know Cynthia, my homegirl Cynthia Rothrock's in the second one. So
yeah, that's the only one I've seen.
Yeah, I gotta check him out. So, but yeah, Black Cat 1 and 2, I highly recommend them. Great release. The transfer, I didn't talk about the transfers look beautiful. They look really fucking good. Honestly, I couldn't believe how good they looked. I mean, I guess it's Vinegar Syndrome, right? They always seem to polish everything to a point where it's like, holy shit, man.
Yeah, it's almost like we don't even have to talk about how good the transfers are, because they're always fucking good.
So good.
I was blown away by these transfers.
Oh my god, yeah, I didn't even mention that.
Believe how fucking crisp these were. I thought because I've seen a lot of Indonesian films and they all look super muddy. It's just the way, I mean, it's obviously probably just a low 35 millimeter film stock, maybe even 60 millimeter they're shooting on. These look insane.
Right. Like, that ugly dude in that movie, you could see every wrinkle, crevice, and pore in his ugly ass face.
Totally, dude. It's fucking insane. Oh my god, dude. Those are crazy. But yeah, the Black Cat films, they sound great. They look great. Good release. I mean, if you're into that VSA line, man, it's something you got to have right there, man. Especially if you like Hong Kong action, man. Highly recommend them. Great double feature on the fact that if you're like us, you're not going from like one really good one to like a lower gauge. They're kind of like pros and cons, and they kind of stick here, which is great. I think it's fucking great.
Right. So. And in my opinion, I think Black Cat 2 stands on its own. Like, I could easily just watch that one by itself and not even worry about watching part 1.
Totally. And you know, it's funny because when we first get to introduce to her new character, which she even has a new name, it almost felt like they were doing the Terminator, because she would focus in on some shit and it'd be like the fucking Terminator. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. So, you know, it's that sci-fi. Yeah. That sci-fi.
You remember the scene that like the assassin was like a fucking pageant girl that was like 9 years old?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It was awesome.
It's like the cops are like detaining the girl. She just had this stupid smile on her face just because she was a kid and she didn't know how to act. So it's like this girl's just like trying to murder motherfuckers. And she's just like laughing about it.
Dude, speaking of Cat acting, this actually caught me off guard. So do you remember in the first Black Cat where there's like a news anchor, she's telling the story or whatever, and she fucks up her line and they kept it in the film?
I did not notice that.
She totally fucking fumbles her line and then she goes back and says it, and that's the whole take. I'm like, what? I fucking started laughing so hard, man. I wonder if I don't even know if I have written down. I just remember that, but I was
I'm
like,
gonna
holy shit.
watch that again.
Dude, you got to watch that part, man. She totally fucks up her line and then just, they must have had one take.
So whatever, good enough.
Brilliant. It's fucking brilliant. But don't get me wrong, the movies aren't like that. They're very professional, except for that weird oddity scene. But
I agree.
anyways,
Great package.
yeah, totally. Yeah. JP,
All right. All right. Those ones sound fun.
I feel like you haven't talked at all in this whole show.
Well, I didn't really know any. I didn't see any of the, like, last time I at least watched Redneck Zombies, but this time I didn't watch any extras. But next time I will, because we'll probably have more time.
You already have half your shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have half my stuff already for next month.
Yeah.
Okay, so the title that I picked was Little Darlings, which I didn't really know anything about. I just heard that it was like a teen sex comedy that was a little bit more than that, but it was sort of marketed as a teen sex comedy. So that kind of interests me a little bit, but it is directed by Ronald F. Maxwell, and he pretty much didn't do like a ton of stuff. Most known for like a couple of Civil War films. And this was his first studio film. It follows a group of teenagers who are at camp. It's from the year 1980, shot in 79, actually. And this movie, actually, for normally when you get a 1979 early 80s movie, it feels more like the 70s. I actually felt like this one felt a little more like the 80s. It felt like a little ahead of what you usually got at that time, which I found interesting. But it follows a group of girls who go to a camp called Camp Little Wolf, which is an all girls camp for the summer. We have two main characters. The cast, you got Tatum O'Neal, Christy
McNichol.
and Matt Dillon, which I didn't even know he was in this until I'm watching it, and I'm like, man, that guy looks like Matt Dillon.
It took me a while before I
Matt
realized it
Dillon.
was Matt Dillon.
Yeah, because he
He's
has like
such a-
long
Yeah.
hair.
He's such a baby in
with the
this
plumage
movie.
or with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
plumage.
It just like,
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Good
like,
plumage.
he probably had like 15 minutes of airtime before I was like, holy shit, that's Matt Dillon.
Yeah, I didn't. He looked familiar, but I just couldn't place it, and then I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. And this was his first like feature like movie. I think he did a couple TV movies before this, maybe. But this was like one of his first big roles, which is pretty cool. But so the two girls go to this camp. One of them is Angel Bright. Don't let the name fool you, which is a line used in the movie a few times. And funny enough, the tagline to the film is actually "Don't let the title fool you," which I thought was an interesting tie into the movie. And she's sort of like this like streetwise like cynical girl, you know what I mean? And then you have Ferris, who is more of like a hopeless romantic, and she's kind of like naive and maybe a little richer. And they don't like each other right away. And then there's another girl named Cinder, who is basically sort of like, the way that I look at it is like the Judy of this, like Judy from Sleepaway Camp, kind of like a little bitchy, acts way more mature for her age. I think she even says she has like a fiance back home and has like much more sexual experience than the rest of the group. And she basically eggs on the other girls. There is some themes of potential maybe lesbian undertones in this film a little bit, that some of the special features talked about a little bit. Not sure if they actually were intentional or just came off that way.
I felt that way about Christy McNichol.
Angel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's like super tomboyish.
Yeah. You could maybe come up with that comparison. And so and even so, where maybe the reason that she took on the challenge of losing her virginity type thing is because the Cinder actually calls her a lesbian like at the beginning of the film. So maybe she was trying to prove that she wasn't type thing, as well as the other reasons that she went along with this. But Cinder basically puts up a bet for $100 that between Ferris and Angel, who could lose their virginity first, because all the girls at this camp act like they are not virgins when in fact most of them are, except for maybe Cinder. And
yeah, I think it's everyone but her.
That's about $374 in today's money.
That's kind of a lot. That's like a lot for this, like,
yeah, for 15-year-olds, 14, 15-year-olds.
Yeah, you can pay me nothing and I'll try to have sex at camp.
So they have this bet, and each girl finds a sort of a target of who they're gonna try to have sex with, while all the other girls in the camp pretty much like join a team of who they're rooting for and put money on each person. So Ferris, she is attracted to the an older camp counselor male, like way older, and like a full-blown adult, like grown man.
Yeah, this dude's like 40.
Yeah, this stuff with her and him was kind of weird to me.
It does come off a little bit like different in today's times, but I really don't think they ever crossed any type of lines either. I feel like the intentions of the guy was always like good and not like malicious, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they wrote his character really well.
There's one line that's maybe could be sort of picked at, which is where he says like, so what if I actually did want you, or something like that, which you could probably
yeah.
But I do feel like the intentions at the end of the day was for him to be a professional, sort of like role model type guy that is like trying to do all the like right stuff and not like crush the girl, but at the same time, like obviously he's not interested in actually doing anything with her. And then Angel, she meets Randy, played by Matt Dillon, at a neighboring camp, and she sort of sets her eyes on him, and he's a little bit more experienced guy. And so it's basically about those two sort of trying to make this happen in different ways. Ferris sort of goes for like the romantic, like seduction type way, and Angel is more like to the point, and she actually tries to get Matt Dillon drunk, which is an interesting role reversal for the teen sex comedies of the time, because you have so many films that actually follow male characters trying to hook up with female characters, from everything from like Animal House all the way up to like American Pie, with getting girls drunk to take advantage of them and stuff, and we actually see it completely reversed in this one. And there's actually a funny scene where he basically gets drunk and passes out and she's just like pissed off sitting there. But in terms of like a teen sex comedy, I don't really think it fits that at all. It's not even that much of a comedy. It's more of a drama coming of age film for sure. I
agree. I don't think I laughed even once in that movie.
Yeah, I think I laughed. The real young girl, like the one that's not supposed to be even in that cabin, like the 10-year-old girl or whatever, she was like the only one that was actually funny.
Yeah, she was pretty goofy.
Yeah, she like steals the condoms and stuff like that from the bathroom, or the men's bathroom. They steal this whole entire like the machines on the walls that have like the condoms for like quarters or whatever. They steal like the whole fucking thing because they're trying to get condoms.
They like break it open like a fucking piñata.
Yeah, like it's like they stole an ATM and they're trying to get the money out type thing. They're like busting it open. But this film deals with like the main idea behind the film is just like the themes of the social pressures of sex and virginity, in the view of young females, which you really never get. Like you mostly deal with the male when it comes to this stuff. So it was really interesting to see like it from the female point of view. And I think they do a really good job of raising questions about just that time in your life. I know as a guy growing up, like me and my friends saw American Pie, and they have the virginity pact at the Dog Years restaurant. Me and my friends did the exact same thing, after seeing that movie, and we all made it a goal for like that summer for us to lose our virginity. And I think I was like 16 at that time when we made that bet. And I think all of us actually did by the end of the summer, which was pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
it
felt like
at that point. Fuck.
What?
I said that was years gone by that point.
Years ago?
Gone, man. I was 14 when I lost mine.
Oh, 14? Yeah, mine was 16, which I felt was pretty good.
Also 16.
I was trying since I was like 13. So but it kind of like to see a different perspective of that, and honestly to see these girls sort of so interested in it felt very realistic to me, and I really like that aspect of it, especially when you start getting to like the reasons why they're doing this. And it really is a lot of social anxiety and social pressure from other girls that is even causing them to sort of rush this sacred moment, you know what I mean? And it's interesting how the film plays out, and like the takeaways that the characters have. Like you have Ferris, who has sort of a subplot with her mother and father divorcing essentially, and that sort of like disenfranchises her to the idea of like romance and love, and which is what she was looking for in her way to lose her virginity. And then Angel's character, her mom just is like sort of maybe sleeping around a bit with guys, and thinks sex is like no big deal, and that sort of factors in to the film as well. People who seen this movie might recognize the camp. It's actually the same camp that Friday the 13th Part 6 was filmed at.
Cool.
Which
Did not know that.
You didn't know that?
No, that's pretty
really
cool.
Yeah, you could kind of tell if you're paying attention.
Oh, that's my favorite one.
Yeah,
Nice.
so it's in Georgia, and it is a camp called Camp Daniel Morgan. It also 1985's Poison Ivy was filmed there, which I've never seen. And then
another
also,
nice erotic thriller.
Yeah. And then also
1985 Poison Ivy. That Poison Ivy didn't come on in 85.
Maybe it's a different Poison Ivy.
No, it's in the 90s.
Yeah, it was. I think it was 1990 actually.
Hey, I'm just reading online what it says online. Maybe there's a different Poison Ivy. I don't know.
Yeah,
that movie's disgusting.
and then modern.
There is a 1985 Poison Ivy.
Yeah, it's not the one that we're probably thinking of.
Michael J. Fox is in it.
What?
Okay.
Looking that up.
So also a modern film that was filmed there, because this camp is still up and still does look very similar. In fact, there's even things that are, referent, like still like relics of the film's past shot there. But a modern film is actually the second Fear Street movie, the camp slasher one that was filmed there as well.
That was my favorite of the trilogy.
Yeah,
me too. Yeah.
I want to point out a reference to a YouTube channel called Malfunction, SEAN, Malfunction, which is Sean Clark, who did Horror's Hollow Grounds for like the Scream Factory releases and the Horror Hound magazine. He actually moved and created like videos on YouTube where he's posting his Horror's Hollow Grounds, and he actually did one on Friday the 13th Part 6, Fear Street, and Little Darlings. Mm-hmm. So he goes to the camp nowadays and like shows like scenes and what it looks like currently in that scene. So those are really cool. That would have actually been a good special feature if they could have. I
used to love those horror hologram things.
Yeah, no, they're awesome. I love them. They're really cool. So the film itself, I think it's pretty good. The first watch, because I did watch this 3 times, due to special features. The first watch I thought was pretty decent, and I did pick up on a lot of the themes and stuff. But after watching it 2 more times and then the special features, it actually made me like the film more because it pointed out more things and more ideas and concepts in the movie. And I actually after the third watch and all the special features, I was like, I kind of think I love this movie a little bit. It's it's very like interesting in terms of like what you expect it to be versus what it actually is. It really is just about, it's sort of feminist as well. But it's so much about just like the coming of age aspect and losing your virginity, and not really a comedy. So I would I gave it a 7 when I watched it first, and I'm ending it an 8. So I did go up a whole point on it after.
Man, so special features are a big thing.
They are. They really are.
Really,
that's why I like doing this, because
Yeah.
it gives me like a reason to watch the special
The
features.
special features, I think, made me like Red Rock more.
Well, I think it always happens to me, even like watching Black Cat. Like her interview is super short, but her talking about her doing her own stunts and like what she did and shit, I was like, what the fuck? Like like films aren't made like that anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're not going to go out onto, a boom on a crane 15 stories up with no wire. Like it's just it's batshit insane. So
yeah, even films like this aren't really made like this anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean? they really aren't. I mean, it's such a cliche thing to say, but it's actually fucking true.
Yeah.
Right.
So in terms of special features, we got a bunch on this one. So the first commentary is with the director, and just a heads up for anybody that is interested in picking this up or who already owns it and might want to check out the special features, you can completely skip that first commentary. It's very boring. In fact, both commentaries have a lot of downtime where they literally just don't talk for a long time.
I hate that shit.
It
drives me fucking
nuts. That's why I like it with like when it's like a group of people from the cast, because they always have some story to bullshit.
Oh yeah, they never stop talking. But the first commentary with the director is very boring, and the interview that he does in the film, he pretty much sums up everything that he said in the commentary, but expands on it in a better way. So the first commentary you could completely skip and watch the interview instead, which is 50 minutes versus the full feature, and you get more information in the 50 minutes. Commentary 2 was a lot better. It is a commentary with Millie de Chirico from the I Saw What You Did podcast. And her shut up. Her commentary is more interesting. It's a little more analytical, and but again, she does pause a lot. But it's almost kind of works better because if there's like an important scene, she'll let the scene play out and then discuss it afterwards about like the analysis of the scene and stuff. And that one was definitely a lot better. Still not my favorite commentary I've ever listened to, but it was interesting to hear a perspective of a girl who liked the movie growing up and stuff like that. And then the interview is probably the best feature maybe. It starts off a little slow because he's sort of just talking about like the production and basically the same stuff he was talking about in the commentary, but it gets a lot better once he starts getting into like some details about the studio and stuff. So obviously the studio was looking to make a film in the vein of like Animal House, but for like girls, you know what I mean? And it did not turn into that at all. And in fact, after the film was like shot and edited, the studio was like, oh hell no, bro, like you gotta recut this, like this is not it. They're like, it's depressing or something. And
we're like purely in the world of raunch in 1980.
like they did not see the movie the way that the director did at all, and they were not happy with the cut until they screened the film, and they did a test screening with a bunch of teenagers, and they were like laughing and like really enjoying the movie. And then the director actually starts tearing up in this interview because he says that like at one point in the film, like he just started hearing like all these girls crying, and he said it was like so impactful to him as like as an artist to see people react like that. And he said he actually kind of forgot about how important that moment was. And he actually starts tearing up, and I was like, wow, that was kind of incredible a little bit.
Shit, I was one of those teenage girls when I watched it.
So after that, they were like, okay, maybe this film is gonna work. And then the MPAA rated it an R, and they were like super stressed because their entire target demographic was like teenagers. So they're like, now the people that we made this film for can't even see it. Now he does go into saying that he fought with the MPAA, and they ended up compromising with they created a PG-13 rating. I think he's misremembering, because from what I
this
remember,
is before that's way
This is
too
way
early.
before.
Yeah,
way too early.
1980 seems too
It's
early.
not-
So
No, it is too
I
early.
think it did
Close.
come out as an R.
It must
It had to have. It had to have. The PG-13 rating didn't come out until what, 82, 83? Something
I
like
think
that.
Yeah.
even later.
I think
Yeah,
in like
even later.
84.
Yeah.
No, I think
after
like I
Gremlins
think
and
like
Goonies and stuff.
89.
No, it
Nah.
wasn't that late.
It was like
'Cause, like, all right,
Gremlins and Temple
Indiana
of Doom.
Jones. The first Indiana Jones is what,
84, I think.
82?
82.
Maybe. Well, this
Or
is the
maybe-
reference.
It was
is
that
the
and Poltergeist.
Were the
all
two
right,
films in
Gremlins.
82.
The reference point I use, and I've always used this because of like I had an experience with this like when I was like 9 years old, is Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Spaceballs is rated PG, and I believe it's 1988. And I remember like it was rated PG, and this was like me 9 years old sleeping over like at someone's house at a birthday party, and like they rented Spaceballs being PG, thinking it was okay, and then there was all this like profanity and then shit. And his parents were like, "What the fuck?" It's like I always remember that's a PG movie, and that was late 80s.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was watching Airplane recently, and there's just like
There's
one
tits in
scene with
it.
giant tits bouncing right in your face.
Well, when did Spaceballs actually
Nice.
come out?
Let's find out. That's on my 4K rack over
I think
there.
it's 88.
That's what I mean. It's a
Is it
late
that
80s
late?
Yeah, but
movie.
PG-13 existed before 88.
PG-13, I believe, came out like
87.
that rating came out.
87.
I believe. I think Indiana Jones was the film that created PG-13. I think.
Let's find out. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is the one that like sparked the conversation, but I'm feeling like 1984, like Gremlins and like Temple of Doom even like really like put like
Yeah,
the nail
Raiders
in.
of the Lost Ark is 81.
yeah. Like there was like a couple years there where they were putting out films that got like PG that probably should have been like something not quite R, but there needed to be something in between.
Yeah.
So I think he's misremembering on that.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
then
It is Gremlins, and it's Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, and Gremlins. So it would have been 84.
okay.
Does
Right.
it say the first PG-13 movie? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's. I know we talked about this before on 22 Shots, but
I hope it's something stupid. Like, wasn't the first Blu-ray like Charlie's
Just
Angels
look
Full
it
Throttle
up.
or
Just
something?
type in what was the first
Yeah,
PG-13
I'm
movie.
looking it up.
I didn't. It came up with Indiana Jones and
Oh, the flamingo kid
Yeah, Google says it's either that or Red Dawn.
or Red Dawn.
yeah, Red Dawn. I remember that in the conversation too. Yeah, yeah. So it's all about the same. But what year?
Yeah.
That's what 82,
84.
84,
Yeah,
right?
so I guess it must have. It
Yeah,
probably.
so like 84-ish.
So
It
84
probably was
is, yeah.
used
So
more
I was
sparingly
more
in the
concerned about
early
the year, not
years.
really the film, because 84 makes sense, right?
I was just curious what film it was.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that
What broke the
director's
seal?
full of shit.
Yeah, I
Fucking
think he's
liar.
just misremembering. But so another interesting thing about this film. So as you know, whenever, especially in the 80s and stuff like that, you had TV versions, right? Like you would make a longer cut for basically TV, and you would cut out all like the stuff that, you know, wasn't suitable. And the director said under the Directors Guild, whenever that happens, the studio is supposed to contact the director and ask if they want first cut at it to sort of cut a TV version. So the director says that one of his friends calls him and was like, dude, I saw Little Darlings on TV and it's like a completely different movie. And he's like, what? So the people at the studio actually never reached out to him to do a cut of the film, and he's pretty pissed off. He was pretty pissed off about it because apparently the whole thing with the virginity is completely taken out of the TV version. And it's more about them seeing who could fall in love or something, and it takes like all the like weight of the film out, and it becomes like very like, you know, just not a good version of the film.
Sunday night movie. Yeah.
What's that?
A Sunday night movie. That's what it becomes. Yeah,
pretty much. And he was he actually did, for this special features, he watched the TV version of the film for the first time, for the first time since he saw it on TV. And he did say that although he like hates that version, that there's a few scenes in there that aren't in the theatrical cut that he's kind of wished would have been. One scene is sort of like the vindication of the camp counselor who basically got almost Me Too'd, you know what I mean? And then like in the TV version, there's a scene where they like basically say that no, he didn't do anything with the girl, and he gets like vindicated in that way, which isn't in the theatrical cut. And then there's just other scenes of them sort of like goofing off at camp type stuff, which he said would have added to like the characters a bit if it was in the theatrical cut. But surprisingly, the TV cut is not on this Blu-ray disc, but it does have scenes from the TV cut, like the deleted scenes, which I did watch.
It's probably because they use different fucking music, and you can't.
That is another aspect. And he did go into that too. So this film never really had a release up until now. And the reason being is because of the music, because there's very popular songs in this film. And he said that back in the day, whenever you know, licensed music, you just did it for the theatrical release. There was no like in perpetuity type thing.
Right.
Because there was no video market, and like there was no reason to, like, no streaming or anything, so you didn't really think ahead. So a lot, you know, we know this already, but he said a lot of the times the reason that these movies get stuck in the past and not on disc is because you basically have to go and clear all the music rights, which usually costs
I always talk
money.
about it.
You basically have to pay the artist. So that's why we never saw a release of this until I believe Paramount Plus put it on their streaming network a few years ago. And then now we got this version.
Is it original music and stuff in this one?
What's that?
It's all original?
Yes.
Yeah. It has like, you know, that song like One Way. Or is it that song?
No, it is because I didn't watch any of the interviews, but I did read the essays inside, and they actually do talk about this. That's why it took it's why it didn't have a release.
Yeah, there's like some popular music in the film.
Yeah.
And then the last, so I watched the extra scenes. It's only like 5 minutes worth of scenes. They could have honestly put them in the movie and it would have been fine. Wouldn't it, like, you know, drag it down or anything. And then there is a video essay by Sam Deegan, which was really good as well. That was more analytical, comparing it to other films of the time, other films that came out that were similar. And that's a pretty good feature. And it's not, I think it's like 30 minutes or something. But that is basically Little Darlings. I really like this movie. It's a good movie. It's thought-provoking. And I feel like it completely fits this line if they're attempting to take studio films that were a little more. you know, and it seems like that's kind of what they're going for. Like
Yeah,
they're
I like
willing,
both these titles as like marquee titles, like to start.
yeah.
Would you rate that?
I gave so initially I gave it a 7, but I came up to an 8 after all the features and everything
Nice.
because it pointed out a lot more stuff. But if you're going in expecting like a comedy, it's really not. It is a coming of age drama film, basically. Oh, another thing I wanted to say, the acting in this film is really good. Like by
Yeah,
both
the
of the
acting's really good.
girls, it like they're especially Angel. Like she has scenes where she starts crying and it's like very like realistic cry. Like not like crying like hysterical, like sort of just where your eyes start to tear up and you don't even really see, you just see the tears in the
That's the
eyes.
hardest acting right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like she actually, I was like, wow, man, this girl
Yeah,
like
she
killed it.
moved the fuck out of me. Like in this movie, like she blew me away.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you got that out of it
Yeah,
too. Cause yeah, she's really good. And dude, even like Matt Dillon, who had like no experience, like
he did a really good
good.
job.
Yeah, he's
He-
He
great.
was
that guy
just
was-
like he was just Matt Dillon. You know what I mean?
He was, he was like, he
He's just
really
his
is.
typical like, well, fuck you. You don't want to do this, and like his like typical like idiot like dumb jock ish like.
Yeah. The scene where she gets like cold feet where she's about to do it and like keeps like sort of manufacturing reasons why she's like won't or not ready yet was really good. Like that seems very accurate to like real life.
Yeah,
But
I feel like I related to her a lot more, obviously, because I mean, obviously, like most of us didn't grow up like rich kids with like weird like I'm gonna be swept away on my feet types of dreams and
Yeah.
shit. It's more like realistic, like
yeah, I
Angel.
completely related to her way more.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
I would
yeah.
just look at Tatum and I'm like, you stupid little girl.
Yeah, I thought the third act of this movie was like really impressive, and it kind of like really like changed tone, and like it was almost depressing. So
yeah, no,
I'm
it
gonna
was
like that.
it was and it had so much weight to it, right?
Yeah,
like both of the girls, like how their stories end up, and it just, I don't know, I felt it, it was kind of powerful. I like I like how the film ended. And yeah, I mean I liked it a lot, and I wasn't sure if I was going to, but yeah.
yeah. Some of like kind of the more childish stuff didn't really work for me, but like it ends really strong, and like
I think that stuff is all good for setting the setting, basically, the camp. Like you sort of have to have
it
that
kind of makes a little more
establishing
sense at
stuff.
the end too, like with how it all ties in when they have that like little scene with like where they all like, well, I am too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really sold it too at the very, very end. I love the
Yeah.
last line in the movie that leads into that Bellamy Brothers like country song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything about it was just really good to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, the I will say too that the essays on this compared to like the other two releases, so I read them all, like these are like by far the best ones.
That's cool.
Yeah, the problem with both the other ones, like it's kind of like I was saying, where it almost just like goes over the movie and kind of says like, well, this means this, like, and it's a little like academic. Where this one is like, it's more like they talk more about like what it influenced and like what it meant to them and like their experiences, which is like what I'm more used to with like
Mhm.
essays I read in movies. So I like these like a lot more. I went back and checked because it struck me like as something, and it was both written by women and on these. And one
Yeah,
thing I
even
found,
the video essay and the commentary are women as well.
yeah, one thing I found interesting about it too is like how like we had talked earlier about like how it was like marketed as like a sex comedy, whereas like in the essays like that stuff doesn't really like come up at all, and it
Yeah.
talks about more how it like inspired like summer camp movies, like I guess
Yeah.
like this Meatballs, Summer Camp, and Friday the 13th all coming out within like 12 months of each other, like really started a
Yeah.
wave where they liked like this like setting. Even to the 90s, like I remember like shows like
Salute
I
Your
forgot what it was
Shorts.
called. Yeah, Salute Your Shorts and like
Mhm.
stuff like that. Like it was like way more of a theme
Camp
in the
on a
90s.
wanna.
I mean,
So
it kept going too. It's like Camp Nowhere, Ernest Goes to
yeah.
Camp, Bug Juice. Like it just didn't stop.
That
remember
South
even
Park
in like
episode where Cartman goes to fat camp.
yeah, like it was
Yes.
just more stuff. Yeah,
Right.
heavyweights.
Heavyweights,
Heavyweights,
yeah. Heavyweights,
Yeah.
that's a
absolutely.
good
So
one.
like it
Yep.
was really I didn't think of it like that. And like they kind of also shared some more of just like young girl stories or like kind of cult movies like that. I hadn't really heard of much except Times Square, but that kind of fits in the same canon as this
Mhm.
movie too.
Yeah. Yeah. It honestly, like it's a cool movie. Like it deserves to be like sort of rediscovered and light shined on it, you know, for
Yeah.
sort of like the themes and stuff. It seems very ahead of its time. And
Yeah.
you know, another thing I liked about the director when he was talking about like the cut of the movie and stuff like that, he was like, you know, this is my first like studio film, and like I don't really have any leverage to say like I'm, you know, not doing this, not doing that. But he's like, you know, an artist and their art is like important, you know. So I had to stick with my art, and
Yeah.
I like really appreciate that, you know what I mean? Because oftentimes, you know, directors turn into sort of like just, you know, that's their job. They're just work, you know, director
Work for hire.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between that and like artists who want to create. And um
Absolutely.
now don't get me wrong, I love some director for hire movies too, but there's something special about someone who is committed
Yeah.
to their vision and their
What's
art.
funny is we can get into that in the next movie.
Oh man, I think that's like a whole that's a great
Yeah.
idea for a show right there. Movies that were just like director for hire.
I think the presentation on this too is like lights out. This is definitely more appealing to me visually than Red Rock. Less
Yeah.
like just at first glance, and the restoration obviously is insane on this too.
Yeah, oh, man, and it's a beautiful film, you know, wide shots of the camp and so many extras in the film. And you know, he did talk about that too, because he talked to Steven Spielberg, and Spielberg asked him why he shot it in widescreen or something. Because at the time, you know, I don't know. But he was like, well, because I had to fit like 30 people in each shot. So, and Steven was like, oh, totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my review of Little Darlings. Hope I did it justice.
Nah, I still
Yeah.
don't want to see it.
The
Did you
4K
not
is
pick that one up,
amazing.
Moods?
No, that was the only one I didn't pick up.
You should pick it up.
I didn't know what the fuck it was. Honestly, I had no idea. So I was like, man, it looks like shit. It's expensive.
Yeah.
Until
It
this
is
line,
expensive,
like,
but it's worth it.
But I was
until
like, you
this
know what?
line
I mean,
changes my mind, I'm just gonna buy them all.
I mean, if
Mhm.
somebody had like, I mean, you said it's not really a sex comedy, which kind of it would have been better for me if you had said if it was
Yeah.
because I really
Yeah.
like sex comedy. So, but I wasn't sure what the fuck it was. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, passed on it.
It's a really nice slice of life movie. Like if you're into shit like that, like you know, coming of age slice of life, like fucking Dazed and Confused, like
Right.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like it's a
I
nice
love stuff
movie.
like that.
Me too.
And I do, man. Dazed and Confused is actually one of my all-time favorites. So
Same. I literally fucking love Dazed and
yeah,
Confused.
it's so good, man. It's so good. Okay. Feature review time?
Yep.
Sounds like it.
Let's do it. Okay, so a feature review for this month. This is February. Yeah, February month is going to be 1981's Southern Comfort.
What the hell
Directed
happened to my camera?
directed by the one and only what I can still see you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The one and only Walter Hill. Yeah. Are you good there, JP, or what?
I'm not sure.
Because I think we can see you fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming through clear.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm just
change.
wondering if you're tripping. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
What are
yes.
you looking at?
Mine's like all pixelated.
Huh.
No, you're actually coming through on my side pretty good. Weird.
Yeah.
All right.
So Walter Hill is responsible up to this point for doing Hard Times with Bronson, The Driver, The Warriors, The Long Riders. So that's pretty crazy. That's a pretty nice list of films. And then you hit 1981 with Southern Comfort. And of course, after he did 48 Hours, Streets of Fire, Brewster's Millions, he did Crossroads, Extreme Prejudice, which is fantastic, Red Heat. List goes on. Another 48 Hours. I love me some Walter Hill, man. I honestly haven't
Yeah,
seen a lot of the later Walter Hill. Like after he stopped
Neither
kind of
have I.
doing his like, his major run of classic films. I was like, I
Yeah.
didn't really
This
see
is my
much.
10th Walter Hill.
I've never
This
even
is
seen
the
Wild.
10th
He did
one.
Wild Bill, right? In the 90s. I think he did that one too. Yeah,
I think so.
I never saw that one.
He did one in the 90s called Geronimo. I know that.
I think he did Wild Bill too. I think it might have been later, but
Geronimo, Johnny Handsome.
yeah, he did that one. Yep, yep.
Undisputed with
Undisputed.
Ving Rhames and Wesley
Yeah.
Snipes.
Okay,
Yeah,
I've seen that one. I've seen that one.
That's the
Yeah.
worst
Great
one I've
movie.
seen from him.
What? It's like Rocky in prison. It's amazing.
I've seen like all his best. I've seen 10 movies from him though, so I've seen like all his early stuff.
Right. Yeah, so Southern Comfort, man. I guess we'll do a quick I'm gonna read a synopsis here. There's like a one-liner. It's a one-liner. During a routine exercise, a team of National Guardsmen are threatened by an angry and violent locals. Jesus Christ.
I mean, that's really the gist of it.
Yeah.
It is, man. This is one of those weird films that you can totally just watch and take for face value, but I think it's so much deeper than that, man. I mean, this is a film that was made in 1981 that's set in 1973. Now, what was happening in 1973?
Yeah, it's
still the Vietnam War.
I went to the same place.
Yeah,
that he was trying to simulate Vietnam. But it's funny because that's the same place I went. But in the special features, Walter Hill was like, "That was never my intention. I just wanted to make a cool SWAT movie."
I have this crazy theory.
I swear to God.
So I purposely never watched
the
features. I never watched the features purposely because I have a theory on because this movie because
I've
I've seen it before.
My mind went to the same place. I'm like, he's simulating Vietnam like in a swamp with these French Cajun guys. This is fucking really cool. And then like in the pictures, like I just wanted to make a cool movie. I swear to God, it's wild.
I don't call bullshit.
No,
I feel like that is what it is.
No, I absolutely call bullshit on this because this movie is exactly the contrast to Vietnam. The Cajuns are the Viet Cong. And
I mean,
but I do think a lot of this stuff does happen by accident. You know what I mean? Like a lot of your subconscious just comes out without you even being.
It's set in a location. It's set in like, they're put into an area where some crazy shit happens and stuff like that. Just like Nam, like you tell the stories and stuff like that. They're put into a situation. Like I mean, there's
but what would the like? What are you saying by doing that though?
What do you mean? What are you saying?
Like if like what's the point?
Well, okay, so there's actually an Iranian cut of this film, which is quite interesting. So do you remember the ending of this film distinctly?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like where it kind of slows down and it seems all like, and then
I thought it was really good because it was ambiguous.
Because it's super ambiguous, right? So that has always baffled me about this film. Like, why would it slow down and get all dramatic and be like, okay, so if your saviors are coming to you, it should just be like, hey man, we're right here. Fucking let's go. Let's get the fuck out of here. So I looked into this because I could never figure out the end of this movie. I'm like, what the fuck? So apparently the Iranians they love this movie. So what they did a cut of the movie and they changed the narrative a little bit where it was basically it was like a government conspiracy where they throw these people into a situation and, a situation where they know they're going to get fucking ambushed and killed and stuff like that. And so the end of the movie where it shows them all dramatic and shit like that, the ending of the movie in the Iranian cut is them being killed by the American government. Because a lot of people figure like what happened with Vietnam and stuff like that was a big play, blah, blah. There's a lot of things, but it plays into the whole thing. And I'm like, wow. So that they took that ending of the film and they created a narrative that it was a huge conspiracy. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, that's fucking pretty crazy.
Wait, that's an actual cut that exists?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They changed a little bit.
I need to
and it's all because of the end of the film.
Shit.
And it plays out better because this is so ambiguous.
Iranian?
I don't know. So it's so ambiguous when you watch this cut of the film because we don't get that narrative where the government is straight up fucking, it's a big conspiracy where they send these people out into the jungle with fake bullets and stuff like that. And they know they're going to be ambushed. That's the point. They were sent out into the jungle or the Louisiana swamps or whatever to be killed on purpose.
For what? Just
super soldiers.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think it's just a contrast to like what a lot of people think Vietnam was just a bunch of bullshit though too, right?
I mean, yeah, it was a bunch of bullshit, but at least it was like
that's what they're playing on.
There was probably motives to why, like, you know, why. It doesn't mean that the motives weren't bullshit, but it wasn't just to like
the biggest reason why the Vietnam was such bullshit for the Americans is that it wasn't their war. It had nothing to do with them. They stepped in and tried to play God, and it ruined a lot of, and it played a role in a lot of people's lives for the negative. It ruined a lot of people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And the government never did anything for these people that went to Vietnam and did, you know, their shit and stuff. It's such a terrible time in history. So that cut of the film actually kind of plays into the whole conspiracy of the American government not really giving a fuck and blah blah blah. And I thought that was really interesting, actually. But I see Southern Comfort as that. And I didn't really even know that until after I watched it the second time. I just kind of looked into the ending. I was like, what the fuck are they doing with the ending? I mean, most people suggest that the ending is just, it's still happy. You know, the choppers pick them up. They live.
Yeah. Well, I never thought that way, honestly. Like, you see the truck driving by, you see the Army star on it. That doesn't mean the motherfucker stops. It just means that, hey, there's another one that exists.
So do you honestly think that Walter Hill had that in mind? That, I mean, because he made the film, and this is his cut. It slows down, it gets all dramatic. I mean, that's why I was always so confused. I'm like, why would we be showing what we're seeing all through the film, and then all of a sudden it gets that type of ending? Like, we're not ever given any implication that it was like a government conspiracy where we're going to throw these guys into here. Maybe they did something wrong. We're just going to kill them off and make it look like the fucking Asians did it kind of thing. Like, there's so many ways to do this to people, right? They know. They sent him out there with no ammo. That's a fucking, that's a total sell on the fact that something might be going on. You can't take real ammo out there. They play on it. The guy smuggles shit. Oh, so we have a little bit of fight back here.
Yeah.
There's so many elements in this film, though, too. Even digging up the dead bodies, right?
Yeah, that part was sick. That was dope.
Like, there's so many things that are correlating straight to the fucking Vietnam War. Like, it's yeah.
It's funny. Like, well, I kind of got I went to the same place, but I also kind of got these vibes. And there's another one or another interview on there where a film historian that wrote a book on Walter Hill talks about, he says the same thing, but I think that's because he obviously, if he wrote a book on Walter Hill, he's heard Walter Hill say that before. You know what I mean? So I don't think like that's anything new, but he said like for him, he saw this more as like a horror film, and he thinks it shares more DNA of movies like Deliverance, Eaten Alive, and like The Hills Have Eyes. It's funny because
we paired this with Deliverance when we
that's the biggest one.
Like, that's exactly where I take it.
The backwoods.
Yeah, and he went in to say like Eaten Alive and The Hills Have Eyes is just like these like it's not like a political conflict, it's like a socio conflict where like they're kind of like they're pit against like these like these conditions are unfamiliar with an uncivilized society.
But I get that whole thing though, but the one scene that I find contradicts that whole fucking theory is how the whole shit starts. I get it. They steal the canoes, but it's not the stealing of the canoes. It's shooting the blanks. That's the contrast where he didn't need to do that. Where I think where I see it is the Americans didn't need to be in Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
It's the contrast, right? It wasn't their war. They shouldn't have been there. They shouldn't be shooting fucking at nobody for no reason.
For me,
all we know is like, these people don't know that they're being not shot at. They don't know they're
I would think I was definitely being shot at. Like that guy was dumb as fuck.
Like like what I took from this movie, like when they're stealing the canoes and when they're shooting the blanks, like what I'm thinking is like when I'm thinking about the Vietnam War, I'm thinking about like America sticking their nose where it doesn't belong, thinking that their dick is like 10 feet tall. They can do whatever they want.
It's the direct contrast in that scene because they were doing exactly what they did in real life in that scene.
This is exactly like what I picked up when I was first watching this. Yeah, like I'm in the same page as you guys. It was just interesting to me. Walter said that.
They're clearly not even trusted with real ammo. So these guys are literally at the bottom of the barrel, like training.
Yeah,
Right.
but
to do this
but
stupid
didn't
shit.
but weren't some of them in Vietnam, like the war?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
The one guy says like he had a Purple
The
Heart.
sergeant actually came back.
Oh, yeah,
the guy
he
that
was,
gets
yeah.
shot in the head, the guy that, you know,
Yeah,
that
Peter
set up the whole
Coyote.
fucking thing. Yeah.
So yeah, the guy that's training the
He
idiots.
actually was from Vietnam, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because like he's then there was the other guy that said I have the stripes.
Which is
I
might
forgot
say
his
something in
name.
itself too. The only guy that actually was in Vietnam was the guy that got capped off in a second.
right.
I mean, that
'Cause
speaks
it's like,
voices too, right?
right now you're a fish out of water.
Right.
That's why I love it so much. It's like the tagline says it all. It's like the land of hospitality unless you don't belong.
Oh, and I was actually
Yeah.
laughing watching this movie, and I was thinking about, oh, you fucking, I know Americans are always so funny, like with Canadians and vice versa and stuff, like, but I'm like, people are always like, you know, up in Canada, y'all speak some fucking French and shit. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to use Southern Comfort as a great example. So there is in Louisiana, there's a whole area like the Cajun, they speak French.
Creole.
That's the contrast to Canada. So in Quebec, there's one area where they speak French. I'm just gonna say that, you know, it's a contrast to Louisiana. It's the same fucking thing. Not all Canadians speak French. We don't know fucking shit about French. It's just the same thing. But no one ever thinks about that. Like there's a part in America where they speak fucking French, just like Canada.
Yeah, but
it's the exact same
not
thing.
really anymore, right? Like like some
Well,
like
there
in
was.
Quebec, it's like a whole damn
Well, there's certain
state,
areas
you
in
know what
Quebec
I
that are
mean?
super ignorant to because they're separatists, right? So they will
Yeah.
not speak English. But there's a lot of part of Quebec that, you know, are bilingual, right?
Like
But the
in
rest of
terms
Canada,
of
it's mostly English.
like
Yeah,
in
the
terms
only
of like
place I've been is
America,
Montreal, where they're French.
in terms of America and specifically, you know, Louisiana, like it's more of like a culture that developed outside, like they're not like French people, you know what I mean? It's a completely it's like
Yeah.
an amalgamation of French and America that sort of became its own thing.
Well, I think that the original settlers actually are Europeans, right? They were French settlers.
Yes,
And it just
that's
developed, right? They actually, it's
Yeah.
just like Canadians, like the French came over to Canada, obviously, but then they created a whole new dialect up here. It's kind of the same thing with the Southern Cajun people too, right? They originate from Europe.
But
It's
I
from
would
France.
argue that the French Canadians seem more French than the
Well, the funny
American
thing is
French.
the the Canadian dialect to the European French is totally different. Like they can't, like if they're talking to each other, I don't even think they even understand each other. Like that's how fucking different it is. But that's what happens, right? Over time. So
Yeah,
dialects
it mainly influenced our food, if out of everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
Like
anyways, I just thought it was a funny thing to bring up because I'm like,
Yeah,
well, there's one area where that's French, and it's like one area. I mean, you know, it's a little bit more
Yeah.
prevalent in Quebec. Quebec's a lot bigger than
Yeah.
Louisiana area kind of thing. But
yeah.
but
yeah, I mean, there's just little pockets. Like here in Columbus, we have an Ethiopian community. We have
Wow.
like so many different like diversities, and they do speak their own languages, and they have their own market squares and everything.
Right. I mean,
yeah, we
like,
mainly only have black and white people.
So where
Here.
I'm from, like where I live, like white people, like well, you want to be political, like we're minorities, right? So it's the majority of people are brown, like Indians, like, you know, West Indians and Asians.
Yeah,
Nobody
we don't
speaks
have a lot of that.
Nobody speaks English around here. So, I mean, it's crazy. It is what it is. But I mean, we're blessed to have so many. I mean, you got to think about it like just coming over the ponds, right? We got a lot of, you know, Japanese and stuff like that. And
Yeah. We get a lot of Canadians, oddly enough, down through here.
But you're so close. You're so close to Canada,
yeah.
right?
Ontario is like that. We get so many people from Ontario,
And you get all
like,
those stereotypicals that say a boot and they say weird shit.
Oh yeah, but
Oh
people
my
will
God.
literally come in and go to check in. They'll be like, yeah, they'll be like, I'm Canadian, by the way, and I'm like, I know. Like I can tell, and they're like, how can you tell? And I'm like,
No, you
I'm
can
like,
tell they're from the eastern part of
it's
Canada.
the way you
but-
say
Dude, that's
like
like-
sorry and a boot and like there's certain just terms that are slightly different than the way it would typically be said in the US.
Right. But I mean, that's
It's
every
like,
that's every region though, man. I go to
Yeah, I mean-
California and I go to New York, and it's like being in two different countries. I've been to
Yeah.
Denver, I've been
Yeah.
to South Dakota, North Dakota, I've been to all these states, and every state is so fucking different, dude. In Canada, it's the exact same way. I go
Yeah.
one state or one province over, same thing, state province, to Alberta. I can't even. I go. They
Dude,
say
it's
shit
not
I can't
even
understand.
it's not
I go
even
all the way back
states
east.
in the US.
They talk some shit, and I'm like, there's no way we're in the same country.
Dude, listen,
the same language.
It's not even just states. Like if you take people from Pittsburgh,
yeah,
and you take people from Philly, both Pennsylvania, we have completely different dialects.
Yep, I know people
Right.
from both Pittsburgh
For
and Philly.
sure.
Right. Oh,
And
100%.
I don't,
Favorite,
and
look at
we
even
tend to not even like them.
100%.
look at even me. Like people like in Western Mass are completely different and talk different than people in Boston, an hour and a half away.
100%, man. You don't talk anything like what you think is a typical Bostonian,
definitely.
kind of thing. You
Yeah.
definitely don't.
Same as in Ohio.
Like even bringing up Derek on the show, like he talks way different than you do.
Because he lives near Boston. He lives in the Boston area. That really is how they talk out there.
Yeah,
That's why, like, I found Thanksgiving so
He's
funny.
got a straight Boston accent.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Love it.
100%. 100%.
Pock the cod in the ya.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you're not even good at it.
Yeah, that was
Not funny. You can't even do a
actually.
Boston accent. He lives in
That was
Massachusetts.
terrible, actually.
Pock the cod, the ya.
See, I couldn't do like that
I can't even
East
do
Coast
it.
accent either because like it changes so much. Like
The
I got family in
cat.
Ontario.
I'm not a cop.
And then you talk to people that are fucking over in the far East Coast. Like I can't fucking even fathom how they talk, dude. Like it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know. It's crazy. So it's just we're a lot different on the West, but
Like I don't even have a Pittsburgh accent. Like Pittsburgh accents are like weird.
They are fucking weird.
Yeah, like I like bro, like what is and that they always say in that.
Like all the weird like little dialect changes and
Yeah.
everything. It's so weird. Like it's so distinct and it's so distinctively isolated in Pittsburgh too.
Here's one. Jeet yet? Jeet yet?
Jeet yet.
Yeah, jeet yet. Did you eat yet? Jeet yet.
so basically what you're saying it actually plays into who you are. Like everyone's just lazy. Is
pretty much, dude.
Match words together. Match words.
Yeah.
Jeet
yet. Crick.
Fucking okay, so Southern
We
Comfort.
haven't even talked about this movie yet.
So cast wise, man, Keith Carradine, Powers Booth, rest in peace of Powers Booth, man. Fucking he's amazing in the film. Fred Ward
is great in this.
Fred Ward, man. Like, I mean, dude.
What a hard ass.
Byron James,
like
who plays the trapper.
Say, how great is Byron James as a villain in this movie?
Dude, he's so good to the point where like when he's speaking like French, and then he like at the end where he's like speaking English, so you're like, what the
like, when he starts speaking in English and just shows you like, holy shit.
Dude, that's actually one of my favorite scenes in the film, actually, when they wake up and they're like, oh fuck, where's Buddy? And he's fucking hanging from the fucking bridge, and like, and then you're like, the whole time this conversation is happening, you're thinking, what the fuck happened? What the fuck happened here? And then Powers Booth literally asks him. I love that in the film. I think that's brilliant filmmaking, but he doesn't answer it. So it's great. It's great. It's fucking awesome.
You also have like the punji traps and stuff like that, which is very Vietnamese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Dude, man, this movie just fucking it reeks of fucking Vietnam, man. It's amazing. Like that whole wet fucking just the scene where it's pissing down rain.
I love if there's one thing I love about this movie, it is the setting. Like I love the setting, like the swamps and like what do they call those trees? Like mangrove trees or something like that. They like literally grow in the
water. Don't know, but they're creepy looking.
So those trees actually grow through the water, or it was flooded at one time? Like, so I never understood that.
Well, it usually floods, but there are species of trees. I think they're called like mangroves or something.
Okay.
That literally like grow out of the water like that.
Yeah.
They, like live. But it's that is like terrifying. That location, like that area, like the swamps of Louisiana and stuff, are just terrifying to me. I'm surprised they didn't put in more put in more like wildlife, you know what I mean? Like alligators and shit that could have.
It's like doubling scary because it's literally a place that no one can relate to besides like a very small pocket of people. It's like
Yeah.
If we were all in that situation, we would all be completely fucked.
Dude, those Cajuns would have fucking ruined us. Like,
Yeah, I would be the first one gone.
I mean, I spent a lot of time in the bush, but like dealing with water and like just
these guys are like
the
tipping
area
down
of like
trees and
just
shit.
no. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a scary thing, man. It's scary. I don't know, man. Like poachers and trappers and shit like that always fucking freak me out. Like when they go up to those scenes and then you see all the shit hanging there and stuff, you're just like, no, this isn't good. It's not good. But
one thing I love about this movie is that the group of guys, just everything they do, they just continually make the wrong choice every single time.
But I think it's a product of, again, telling the story of like the Nom and shit like that. Like you look at the fucking teacher. He seems like he's pretty fucking normal until he's completely batshit insane. They have to haul him around roped up because he's fucking insane. The guy painted a cross on his chest, blew up a fucking trapdoor thing, which, he was actually right by the end of it, kind of thing. It's actually kind of ironic a little bit.
Yeah.
But he didn't have to go all batshit crazy in that shit, but he did. But I guess that's playing into the idea of being a Nom and stuff and being in those situations and just literally just not being able to function. Your mentality is not correct, right?
Yeah, some people break down. It's just a thing that happens,
right? And they showcase that quite well.
It's actually a bald cypress. That's what the kind of tree that grows there. Mangroves are they're a little bigger.
Right.
Yeah, I thought this movie was fucking great. I'm a big Walter Hill fan anyway. So like this honestly is like, I'm probably beaming with recency bias right now, but I even put this in like probably near the top of the movies I've seen from him.
It's easily my favorite, but
it
I have
might,
like a personal bias.
I would
really
have to
like
go
the
through
Warriors.
again his films, like his first, like honestly, I love 48 Hours though. I'm such a big
that's one I haven't seen.
It's so
I haven't
good.
seen some popular
It's so
ones
good.
from him.
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean, it was
I'm a big
perfect,
fan of the
perfectly
Warriors.
casted.
You're a big fan
Nick
of what?
Nolte and Eddie Murphy
The
are
Warriors.
perfect together.
Dude, The Warriors is easily his best film.
I love that. That would be the one in competition.
Well, again,
I just recently watched The Driver, and I like this
best.
more than The Driver. But The Driver was also great. That's a really cool movie too. Like Walter Hill, just like.
And I've only seen 2 of his films, so I could confidently say that it. Actually, he did,
confidently. You can't say anything confidently.
Never mind. He did Trespass.
Yeah, so you gave. I was gonna say you gave me a Walter Hill movie to watch.
I
Trespass,
love
10 out of
10.
ten.
Bro.
Did he do Trespass? Oh, I fucking forgot about that.
You honestly, you gotta watch more of his movies. I think you would really like a lot of his work because, like, I'm not even like shitting on Trespass, but that's like the bottom of like the movies.
Speaking of
Ice Cube, dude.
I actually bought.
Trespass is better
like
than
that's what I'm saying.
Trespass is the shit.
Yes,
you got
it
double the
is.
bill and double the
No
ice.
way,
dude. You got Ice-T and Ice Cube.
Dude,
you got an amazing soundtrack.
That's
you
so
got an
crazy.
amazing soundtrack. Bill Paxton and Bill Sadler.
I literally bought.
And,
well, I shouldn't say I did.
The old black dude is like one of the best characters.
The homeless man.
Yeah, dude.
He's so fucking awesome.
He's so awesome.
And he makes out at the end. What a fucking genius.
Yeah,
I never thought in a million years on this show Ice Cube would get brought up today because I just bought Ice Cube tickets for the show in town.
A good day
today.
huh?
Hell yeah, that's dope.
So apparently, ironically enough, my kid's favorite song right now is "Today Was a Good Day."
It's a classic.
Out of like that's pure randomness. And then Ice Cube is coming to town, and we got tickets. And I'm like, oh shit! So I'm taking my kid. His first concert is going to be Ice Cube.
That's awesome.
Wild.
That's a
really
nuts concert, dude.
Fucking
Ice
nuts.
Cube is literally like one of the greats of all time, dude.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's pretty crazy, but
yeah, Walter Hill somewhat's like really fascinated me because I've never kind of really looked at Walter Hill as like being made like like having made a masterpiece, but he just makes lots of like cool, like good.
I think
like,
Warriors is kind of a masterpiece, bro. Honestly,
yeah, I think if
it's a masterpiece of
the theatrical,
cinema.
I think if you're watching the theatrical, it's such a better film.
I just watched it on 4K.
Yeah,
like,
I got the box set.
I like that film a lot.
I just got it too. I gotta watch. I gotta watch the theatrical again.
Well, I've always kind of seen him as just like a genre working man, and like listening to like this interview with him was like kind of wild because he even said like, "Hey, I kind of feel like I came like 20, 30 years too late. I would have like loved to just like have a studio contract and just like make whatever they put in front of me. So that
Which
was
is so
kind of like,
interesting because it's like the
yeah,
opposite of what we were saying
you don't see
earlier.
that often. It's someone I always kind of like related to Walter Hill to as like a modern version was Howard Hawks. And he says in like the interview, like Howard Hawks is like one of his biggest influences who like I think has like higher peaks than Walter Hill. But it's like the same thing. He kind of just made a variety of movies. He made a lot of good action movies. He made like westerns like Walter Hill did. He made some comedies. It's just like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really like these just like big, like kind of like genre like working man type of guys, and like that's why like I always like kind of seek out the Walter Hill movies. This was like probably my biggest blind spot.
Dude, this movie has a fucking totally intense like third act though.
I fucking loved it. That's what brought this home for me is like that
Yeah.
like filmmaking like in that like Asian like party where they're like upping the tempo like on the violin and the
Because you're not
editing.
100% sure it's gonna go where it is, but
Oh
like you're
my
like,
god,
damn.
that is like some of like the best like tension building
Right.
like editing
And the
I've seen in
music
a
kept getting
while.
faster.
Yeah, and they're like showing
The
you these like
editing kept
thoughts
getting
of
wild.
And
yeah,
that
they're like
authentic Cajun music that they're playing, like I swear they hired non-actors to do that shit. They're just like play some shit.
Probably.
yeah, they're just
Yeah,
like they'll
because it's
show like
fucking
these guys
super
these
authentic. Yeah.
they'll just keep showing you all the people in these rooms, these like people dancing and these guys gutting a pig and like it's just fucking
Yeah,
wild.
them shooting the pigs, I was like, bro,
Yeah,
fuck.
it just gets so
Like they really
intense
did that. I
and
was like, oh
so
man.
like suspenseful, and I love the ending. That was like one of my favorite like bits of filmmaking I've seen like in a movie like this in a while.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side too, it's like it's really cool because we're talking about how tense of a scene that is, but at the same time, these are people just having like a fun Sunday. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's
that's
like
the
these
power
people
of
that
editing.
right. It's like this is like we're just having a great fucking day. You know, it's like football day, tailgating time,
But
baby.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a certain group of people. It wasn't everybody. Right. I get everyone
Right.
having their fucking but I mean, I get that in the small little offbeat communities and shit like that. So again, like you can't look at the whole community as the villain, which sometimes it might be portrayed as like it's kind of feels like, oh, let's bring you over here. And I feel like that might be portrayed that way because when they get picked up by that dude, like, are they bringing them to the slaughter? Because they showcase it.
yeah.
You're literally
Mhm.
sitting with the slaughter in the back of the
Right.
truck with the pigs. And that's a cool moment in the film because they're bringing them to the slaughter. You know, it does. I don't want to give it away if people haven't seen it, but do they get slaughtered or not? I don't know,
A lot of
but
them
there's a
do.
lot of good filmmaking here, man. Like, I mean, I just can't get past the nom connection here. I mean, the contrast it's obvious. It's
I mean,
obvious.
at
It's
the end of the
super
day,
obvious.
at the
Mhm.
It's
end of the
crazy
day,
obvious.
you put your art out there, and people are gonna interpret what they interpret, and it's not really yours anymore.
Yeah.
I
And
agree.
there are also people too like that, like he even said, like kind of in the essay booklet, they think Walter Hill's full of shit, and that he's just trying to like make he doesn't want his film bunched in with like these like post Vietnam exploitation movies.
That's possible too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I mean, I love
Who
Walter Hill, but
cares?
I mean, if he's gonna say this shit isn't like what we're saying it is, he is full of shit because it totally is. There's no fucking question it isn't. Like, give me a fucking break,
yeah.
dude. I
I
mean, you even have
guess
scenes where the soldiers go crazy, they start killing each other. You got crazy, like all that shit. Like that's all
Blowing up
documented. That's all
huts.
documented.
Yeah, they're blowing up huts and shit and stealing shit and like ammo. It's like it's
Yeah,
100%.
it's exactly what was going on, man. Like shit got crazy. It got fucking crazy, and man, come on, dude. It's exactly what he knew what he was doing. He just doesn't want to admit it. But whatever. Oh, we
How
got
about
quiet there. Oh, so
how about
okay,
that soundtrack?
I think one of the soundtrack is fucking
oh yeah,
phenomenal.
the
It's
soundtrack is
so
great.
fitting. It's so
It's
fitting.
like the
Like,
perfect amount of like melancholy too.
dude, the
Mhm.
music leading up to even like the third act and the Cajun shit, the
It's
Yeah,
music
so
is so
haunting.
goddamn good. The score is so good in this film.
Mhm.
Oh man. Like even the opening credits, you're just like, oh fuck, what is this? Like right away, it just captivates me, man. So good. So good, man. Yeah. I'm not even sure who does the music in this.
Ry Cooder.
Hmm.
He's just like a country artist.
Wow.
Like he does albums and shit, but he's kind of just like a guy who does scores as well.
Nice. Well, that's good that they got someone that does, you know, that type of music.
Yeah, they were really hot on him in the special features. Like it was a big deal that he was involved with the music.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like he fucking made the movie. Like that score made the movie. Because it's like you can like film people in the woods and shit and like the swamp and everything, but like that music really brought forth like the Cajun flavor of like how it really is.
Yeah, very atmospheric, and I liked a lot of like the cues of like bringing like they made the movie like darker. Like as the movie got darker, you had the fog that just looks really good with like wrapping between those trees.
Yeah, that's
and
really
and that 4K is fucking amazing. Yeah. Just like how drab and just so gray everything is, and then just how red the blood is when it comes out. It's just like, gosh.
Yeah.
Like they really kill it with the restorations. Like as far as I'm concerned, they're like
close how they do it where they're
either in a tier of their own or close to it. The only company I really put close to them restoration wise is Arrow.
I think they source a lot of their restorations.
Arrow, I feel like used to be better.
I don't even think Arrow is that good, honestly.
I feel like Arrow used to be better, but like
I've been really impressed with the Arrow 4Ks.
I'm like, how in the
to me, Blue Underground and Synapse are the second best. They just
Synapse,
the output.
Synapse, I also put up.
Blue Underground has been really impressive. Like one of my favorite transfers is Zombie.
It's the only Blue Underground I own is Maniac.
That's actually probably their worst transfer.
Really, that's funny.
But then again, that film is shown on.
It's just
I do remember though, like
super bad stock
I had for years that were like I just upgraded it like last summer.
But that's the best the film has ever looked though, man. Like I mean, trust me, I have like what 15 to 20 copies of Maniac. Like it doesn't look any better than that 4K. Yeah, it's the best it's looked. So
yeah, when I say worst transfer, I literally just mean out of all the transfers, it's the
but it was also meant to look super shitty and gritty. So we can do with it, right? So
Synapse is way up there too. Just like
it's amazing when you watch this film how clear it looks, but it still has that grain in it too.
Little too much at certain points.
It's crazy, but it's crazy when you're watching it and it has the grain, but you're like. But if you look through the grain and you see shit, it's so clear. That's what I love in transfers because it still captures
I love the grain so much.
It captures that element of time.
So all three of you guys are grain fans, huh?
Well, I love grain because it's
I have a projector to the film.
This is how these films actually looked.
It's not what they're doing.
No, it is. It is.
Dude, I see lots of prints, right? It's not the same. It really isn't. There's no like it doesn't. That's why I prefer less grain in digital format because it does not compare to the projector and the texture of the film when watching it on an actual print.
I know, but a film in 1981 would have had the natural grain. You can't take that natural out of there.
This was actually like a controversy. You
because you're almost changing the way it should, like the way it actually looks.
This was
I'm not saying the way it should look.
With the Disney Blu-ray. I don't know if it was 4K. I think they were Blu-rays, but there were when Disney did a bunch of restorations on a bunch of their like really old like animated films like Cinderella, and they like tried to like scrub out the grain and they scrubbed away like a ton of detail, and a bunch of people were posting like before and afters, like they took the grain out and they scrubbed all the detail away with it. And I guess that's like a real problem with like removing that sort of thing. But I don't know a ton about it.
It definitely can be. Like I've seen films that have very low grain. That it just depends how you do the transfer, and I'm sure there is like.
I think it depends on the film elements.
I know from this one, it's
it depends on the stock.
Yeah,
I know for this one too, they did not have the original camera negative. There's like a little like 5-minute video that they posted like on the Vincent YouTube where they talk about it wasn't the original camera negative. It was like close to like it, but it wasn't.
Have you guys noticed that like a lot of these studio transfers are like almost always from like inner positives and not negatives? Like what the hell's that all about?
I've noticed that a lot.
Cheaper, maybe they can't find them. I don't know.
It seemed like in this case it was available elements type of thing.
I don't really understand a lot of like what any of that
Yeah,
means
I don't
anyway.
understand it either. He explained it in the video and I still don't understand it. Like it's just like I'm watching it like I didn't catch any of that.
Like I know Full Moon just announced their subspecies box set, which it was so funny because me and Moodz and Tyler were talking about that on a previous show.
Yeah.
And we were like, why is Subspecies 4 never came out on Blu-ray, but the rest of the series has. And it's so funny because Charles Band literally answered that question like 2 weeks later in a video. And he said that they basically lost the print in Romania and they've never found it. And so they basically just did an upscale for Subspecies 4 just so they can include it in the set, which I'm fine with if you truly don't have the element.
I don't think
it's better than having it on a shitty
for...
DVD anyways. At least you got it on a better disc.
Yeah, right. And it's part of, and at least you have it in the collection and stuff.
I don't think
and I think
Subspecies
that
4
like
the movie I'm dying for.
the technology has come like a
I
long
love
way.
Subspecies
Like,
4 actually.
Even when you're seeing like shot on video movies on Blu-ray and stuff, like they look good, you know what I mean, for the situation.
Oh, yeah,
like, so
they look as good as they can.
Dude, the new Subspecies movie looks clear.
I'm continually impressed by
it's so crazy what they're shooting these things on now, man. Holy
we were talking about a
Blu-ray.
little bit before we got going, but like I picked up a couple movies for 75, and one of them is this movie, A Haunted Turkish Bathhouse, and I threw in the Blu-ray for like 15 minutes, and it looks incredible from Mondo Macabre.
That's one of those titles that I'm like, what the hell is this going to be about?
It's fucking. Why I got distracted.
Is it just like an Asian Japanese movie?
It's like golden age, like Japanese, like crazy, just doing like whatever. It's like it's like House, where it's just like shit just happens.
Yeah, I came out a few months back, I think, or I don't know when the fuck he came. I picked it up too. Still need to watch it. I'm glad
it's really cool.
Not gonna watch for 75, but
I need to get that.
You probably like it. It's like that weird like Hong Kong. It's Japanese, but it's kind of like falls into that like weird Hong Kong shit that we were talking about.
Yeah. I'll watch it.
So,
anything else on Southern Comfort or?
I mean, I'd like to highlight the cast again. I mean, just the fact that like every single character is like extremely well written. They all had their own personalities. And like they just all felt so like real and just I don't know. Like there's so many movies that came out around that time where you just have so many disposable people, but like everybody had a chance to breathe in this movie. And they're all so different in their own little ways.
Yeah.
No, I agree, man.
Because you had like the religious nut, the idiot, the hard ass, you had the redneck, you had the second in command that's a fucking pussy, but he wants to be a fucking tough guy. It's like literally every cliche is in this movie. It's amazing.
It's like a slasher film of cliches, but not a slasher film.
Exactly. Like I almost look at this as like a slasher meets Deliverance meets The Warriors, because it's like a story about a group, like a gang fighting their way to reach a certain destination. And they have to go through these perils to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, Powers Booth is my shit in the film, man. His character is amazing. I love that shit though, man, because like he's the outcast of the film that ultimately does not want to fucking be there. Fucking hates where he is, hates where he came from. And
he's a college boy
and
surrounded by idiots.
Like where the fuck does he go? You know, it's like where does his character end up? And I love that shit, man. Like it's a solid fucking good writing. So I'm a little bit fucking disappointed though with Fred Ward's character. I think I might have said that the first time too, but you know, just having him not be there as long as as we wanted him to be, because he's a great actor. Character was cool.
Yeah, and he was already pretty prominently like an actor, like stuff like Escape from Alcatraz and whatnot.
Oh yeah, and that's a great movie. I love that movie.
And like,
dude,
I agree with you,
Moodz. My shit, dude.
I love that movie. I've only seen it once. I have the 4K. I want to watch it again. But like the first time I saw that, I was just like,
I told you would have loved it. I told you.
Yeah, I was at the edge of my seat, like, oh my god,
such a good movie.
But let's go for me.
That knife fight between him and Powers Booth, like in my opinion, kind of came out of nowhere. It's like they kind of had like this weird like antagonizing feud like throughout this movie, but it went from like a 3 to 10 just like that. And now they're in like,
just like,
Well,
let's
I
go.
think what it was is because Fred Ward's character was like, he was so dismissive of the new guy, and they had beef right away. So every little thing was like, it was elevated to the point where, hey, this might end up like this. But yeah, like it's a surprising moment to see what happens in that scene. You're like, oh shit, goddamn.
I love Brian James, like,
because they're already
standing
fighting
there
for the life,
watching.
and that's the irony of it. It's like, again, it's played into the whole Vietnam thing where, you know, you're fighting for your life, but then you're fighting for your life in a different situation too, kind of thing, right? Because people are going fucking crazy, things are happening, and I think it plays in pretty well.
Oh, I love Brian James just standing there watching, like, kill him.
Yeah,
I love that too, because like Powers Booth, they like really prominently feature the fact that he noticed him saying kill him.
Yeah.
He kills him, and then he doesn't even mention that shit to like any of the other guys, that he knows that this dude can speak and understand English.
Yeah, I know. I caught that too. Yeah.
I kind of took it as like he could probably say one word, you know what I mean? And I was like,
no, I knew right away. I was like, bro.
I was naive, and I was of the opinion that he was just like, he had nothing to do with it.
But I feel like everybody in that situation, like that Cajun time, you probably would speak English because you had to go into somewhere.
Yeah,
that was English speaking, right? You had to be able to speak English.
It was still a good twist. That was like a sweet heel turn. Like, haha, I was a bad guy.
I know. I've seen 100 million Brian James movie. It's like, he's fucking with them. This guy can speak English. Just wait.
Yeah, I've never seen Brian James like not be a villain.
Yeah, I don't think I have either, honestly.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, honestly, man, no. He died fucking young too, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, he died like, oh no, that was someone else. But yeah, he also died young. He died like late 90s.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't. How the fuck did he die?
I don't know. It was probably like, I think it was like a heart attack or something.
Because he wasn't that old, I don't think, either. But
no, that was like, he actually like, he's like just as old and died at the same time as like JT Walsh. Like, it's very like similar the way it lines up. That's why I got confused. But yeah, he was also someone like I've seen like, never like the leading guy, but just like he shows up in like a bunch of cool cult stuff, and he's like always a villain. He's always does a good job.
Yeah,
he's a piece of shit. Like Needful Things.
Yeah.
I love his character in that movie.
There's like,
the Buster.
He's like the Shocker. He's like the villain in the Shocker ripoff, right?
Oh yeah, House 3.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna fuck you up. His face like goes into a fucking turkey.
Oh, in the horror show.
Yeah, horror show.
Yeah. Shit, totally.
Yeah, I like that guy. That guy's awesome.
Yeah, and he was really good in this too. My only like problem with his character is the fact that like we can talk so good about this movie, but one thing I fucking hate is that they didn't do a good job at all disguising the fact that this dude's arm was literally on his side the entire time. And it was so obvious.
Yeah,
it was like driving me insane.
And you know what? I'm gonna tell you one thing, man. That's the product of watching the shit on fucking 4Ks.
Yeah, that does sometimes happen.
I swear the last time I watched it, it wasn't as clear, and I was like, damn 4Ks. You're ruining shit, man.
You would have never thought 40-something years ago was gonna look like that. Like,
yeah, no, I mean, I think that's actually gonna happen. Like, I mean, I think we talked about that before in films. Like, all of a sudden, you're seeing shit that might not have meant to be seen because these transfers are so good now. I don't know.
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger's wiener in Terminator.
We were always meant to see that. Always.
It's never a bad thing though, man. Like there's always movies where like, holy shit, man, there's things happening now that I've never seen before. But
yeah, well, it's funny, like even in the video store era, right? Like I remember like listening to commentaries and stuff like that, films made in like the late 80s, and they would say like, oh, don't worry, the quality will hide the strings attached to the effect. You know what I mean?
Oops. They got fucking Vinegar syndrome, like pulling stuff out of the trash heap. Like, let's make this look really great.
And then they have to cover it up, right? They got to cover up the fucking.
Just leave them. Fuck it.
Yeah. Anything that was like held on
The
by
lines,
strings,
the metal lines.
100%.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah, don't dare show a boom mic.
Nope.
Apparently, there's
Especially
a
not
boom
in
mic in
4K.
that Madam Web movie that people are losing their minds about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's pretty funny.
Well,
Really?
Tyler just gave it a -6 rating.
I'm more partial to a boom mic in a movie that's not a found footage movie. It's not good either way. Like, that's just not something you should be doing.
No,
Boom
the
mic
least of
in a
the,
found
the least
footage
of the
movie, that's
problems that
incredible.
Megan is missing is not fucking the boom mics, man.
That's just my problem. That's just my thing about.
We're not getting into Megan is missing
JP is
again.
just
We spent
sucking
an
fucking
hour
Dave
in
Z's cock
2011.
again. That's what he does on every fucking movie.
Hold on. Get the fuck out of here. I always give
I
Dave Z shit.
suspected that
Dude,
you were
I
not
gave
gonna
him
like that.
so
I'm
much
so
shit
fucking
for
wrong on that shit.
2011 for Home Alone 2. Like the motherfucker doesn't like Home Alone 2.
Oh,
What's not to
holy
like about
shit.
Home Alone 2?
It's
Bro.
literally
Home
the
Alone
same
1, but
fucking
don't
movie.
like-
Bro,
That's
Like,
I proved you. I
exactly.
proved you
How
wrong.
could you? How could you hate one but not the other? It makes literally no sense.
I
It's
have
the same
proved you-
movie, but it's bigger. That's it.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
It has
literally the
Tim
same
Curry and
fucking
Rob
No, it
movie.
is
Schneider
literally
in
the
it.
same movie. Yeah. I proved you
They're
wrong though,
both
JP,
great.
man. I said to you pre-game, I was like, yo, I was like, bro,
Don't spoil.
no. I'm
Show's
just,
not out yet.
oh, actually,
Well,
Well,
it'll
which
be
one's
out
coming
before
out
this.
first?
no,
Yeah, it'll
this will be
before-
out way later.
Yeah, it'll be out.
Okay.
But I said
yeah.
a certain person won't have any the same as my top 10 list, and I was fucking bang on there.
I'm actually shocked.
Dude, this might be the most unique list ever because, like,
Yeah.
in terms of how we compare, like, there couldn't be more than 2 or 3 the same
Yeah, there was no
for anybody.
list that
Like, it was
had
crazy. Like,
5.
there was me and a certain person that had no the same.
Yeah.
Did
None.
any of you guys share the same number one?
No.
all 5 different number ones.
All
Hell yeah,
different,
that's sick.
Yeah.
And there was me and one person had none of the same top 10.
Not a single one.
Not
Yeah.
a fucking one.
Hell
In
yeah!
fact,
can't fucking
I only
wait.
shared I had 2 the same with one person and 1 the same with the other 2 persons.
Yeah, I think you had 2 with me. Was it 2?
Just 1.
Just
I
1.
think we only had one.
Yep. Dave Z,
Crazy.
who I thought I would have the least in common, actually had the most.
I think me and Daisy probably had the
I think
most
I
common.
had one with everyone.
It's a really
At
fun.
least.
I think it'd be a fun podcast listening because, like, there must be a 45-minute conversation about Megan is Missing, and it gets
Dude,
pretty,
it felt
it's-
like an hour.
it
dude.
was.
I'm not
It
even
might even been
joking.
an hour in the middle, and we're like, where the fuck were we?
Damn,
Yeah.
that's
Dude, the
on
thing
somebody's
is-
list.
The thing is too, I could have gone so much longer about that.
Me too, man.
But I just I was like, all right, let's like.
Well,
this
I
is
mean,
getting-
I could have went longer too and continued to embarrass you, but I decided to pump the brakes.
If that's what you think, if that's what you think,
yeah,
Tony, what do you think about Megan is Missing?
I still can't
we're not
understand the
getting
love
into
for it.
Megan is Missing.
Anyway,
think that
Southern
movie
Comfort
is
ratings.
trash.
We should probably
You're
get out of here. But
That's the average response.
right.
who wants to start on the ratings for Southern Comfort? Unless anybody else has some shit to say.
I'll go first, I guess.
Okay.
So, like, for me, Southern Comfort's a pretty special movie. Like, I first watched it when I was like 8 years old. Like, my dad, for some reason, woke me up at like 2 a.m. and said, "Hey, wake up. You got to watch this movie with me." And he made me watch Southern Comfort with him at like 2 a.m. when I was 8 because he's like, "I really love this movie." When I
I'm
was a
pretty
kid."
sure that you were abused then, because like that's child abusers.
That's kind of crazy.
I'm just fucking.
But
Your
I
dad's
loved
fucking
it.
cool as shit.
Right.
wish I had a
I
dad
loved
like
it
you.
too. So, like, honestly, like, this is probably one of my favorite like movies ever. And I am still gonna knock that Brian Jones arm shit. So I'm gonna go at a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm actually at the same rating, man. 9 out of 10. I think it's a great contrast between, Nam and, this reality. But honestly, man, it's horrific. It got a great third act, man. It's intense. I think the third act is really intense. It really intensifies what you just saw. And I think it's good shit, man. Great soundtrack, man. Great acting. Powers Booth, fuck me, man. I love that dude. Rest in peace to Powers Booth, man. He was fucking awesome in this film. I just love his, like, I don't want to fucking be here. But it's all bullshit because he totally fucking, he's the dude that survives because he's so mentally strong. It's great.
I also want to call out, like, I really hate the fucking tree trap scene. It's like, how do you even plan something like that? Like trees falling directly in there.
Well, it's metaphorical. It's metaphorical. Time. It's metaphorical. It's playing into the Vietnam, the grenades, right? The grenades coming in all the time and shit like that. It's about the bombs.
Okay. 9.5 out of 10.
That's how I see it.
You brought my rating up by half a point.
There you go. I do this every once in a while. Yeah.
So yeah, this movie, it's just to be fair, it is a little bit sluggish. But yeah, this movie's great. I like this a lot.
Did you just say sluggish? Really? Like, when's a sluggish?
Yeah, I think it takes a little bit, but there's a little bit of a stopgap. I think after the event that triggers everything happens before stuff starts really going on. There's a little bit of a stopgap there. But overall, this movie's great. I like this movie a lot. There's not a whole lot to complain about. And that last dance party scene was exquisite. I fucking loved it. And I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
All right. I definitely don't feel as passionate about this film as you guys do.
I think you like Vietnam shit, man.
I love Vietnam shit.
And backwoods shit.
That's what you watch.
I love Vietnam shit. I love backwoods shit. I do not find that the Vietnam tie-ins are particularly interesting in this film. I think that they come off kind of simple and just that's why I'm saying what do you mean he didn't try to do that? It's so obvious that it's about
it's in your face.
Yeah, it's so in your face.
Of course.
And I don't know. To me, I don't feel like they're saying anything interesting that hasn't been said before or a million times before, now the movie itself, in terms of the action and the characters and stuff, I do like that. My favorite aspect of the film is just the location. I think it's phenomenal, and I like the music as well. I just don't find that the narrative is particularly that interesting, and it doesn't hold my attention very well. I didn't really care. If you go back and listen to our review back then, I didn't really care for the movie that much then, so I was looking forward to a rewatch. But I actually like it less probably now.
What?
So I'm coming in at 6.5 out of 10.
Dude, it's like a better version of Deliverance, man. Come on.
Dude, no, it's not.
It's way better.
I'd have to rewatch
Deliverance is so much better than
I would also give Deliverance an 8, so I don't know.
Dude,
I think I'd have to go to the tape on that.
When you guys were talking about Walter Hill just wanting to make this movie and not have a lot of, that's how it feels. So I actually am wow, okay. So it feels just basic and not that it doesn't feel artsy or
there really is a part of me that hopes Walter Hill is completely being Jerry's I just want to make a fucking swap action movie with
it's bullshit.
That's what
bullshit.
it is. It is.
That's funny. To me, I look at it as a genius just making a movie and not realizing what he's making.
That happens a lot too, right? Because like you said, subconsciously.
No, it could. I still think Rituals. I still think Rituals is a better film. If you look at Deliverance and this Southern cover, I think Rituals is the best one. To be honest,
I've never seen.
He got the influence for the Cajun thing from his movie. I'd never seen his movie, but his movie Hard Times here with Charles Bronson. Yep. I guess there's some type of Cajun fight sequence. They're this was really good shit. We should do this again, and that's where the idea of the Cajun stuff came from.
Right. But Rituals, man, same category. Great film.
Never seen that one either.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the next exploitation that we're doing.
Rituals.
Yeah, you should bring me in on the next Connexploitation.
Yeah, you can definitely
Sure.
enjoy. Man, that movie's awesome, dude.
Yeah, this looks
so
cool.
Dude, we
good.
can't do another Connexploitation because we have like 7 more zoology shows to get to.
Is there an animal that you guys haven't like planned yet?
Yeah,
Mermaid.
Mermaids?
There is a good
Oh,
20 of them. There's a good 20 of them.
No, that is the cryptozoology shows.
So
a different.
that's
a different
one I think is
It's
bears.
Bears.
Is
Yeah, it's
bears.
next-
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Bears.
the
And it's a
next
weird
show.
bear
Yeah,
show too.
it's
weird.
actually I thought Bears was this week, and I was about to start watching bear movies, and then I was just driving around. I kind of like listened to like YouTube reviews and shit sometimes on a drive, and Dave Parker's latest review came on, and he started talking about serial killers. I was like, holy shit, serial killers is
Yeah,
this week, not the
Serial
bear
killers this
show.
week.
I
And
hope you
then
guys do Grizzly too.
we actually are
We
not
actually
doing
talked
it, but
about
we
that.
did talk about doing it. We were considering it.
That movie is insane. Like the finished one that came out like a year or two ago
Yeah.
is unbelievable.
I think the third movie we picked though was like a really cool choice.
Yeah, it's like some obscure like film that
Never, yeah, like has like no release that like
Yeah.
200 people.
We'll
have
see.
seen.
Who knows if it's good or not, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a bunch of different like I want to do like we could do slugs, we could do
Slugs.
mosquitoes, we could do pigs we haven't done yet. There's a
Is
bunch
there?
of bird. We
Really?
have a birds one. So yeah, there's and
We have
you
so
can
many
literally-
lined up. It's
You
ridiculous.
could do like dogs volume 2.
Crocodiles.
Oh, dude, you could
alligators,
literally do between crocodiles and sharks. You could literally do like
a year's
like,
worth.
dozens.
Literal years
Even
worth,
dogs,
maybe
but like
two.
I did a couple whole full
You
weeks
do a
on YouTube
podcast
of
on just
rats.
like shark
Like, we-
movies.
Rats
when-
too.
when are we doing
There's
rats?
actually a surprising amount of rat films.
Yeah. Deadly
There's
Eyes,
quite a
Willard.
few. Yeah.
Rats are
Willard
scary.
again, Ben,
Yeah, there's a ton.
Fucking rights, man.
Hood Rat.
Good rat.
It's Willard
Road-
in the Hood. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it, but it's
Yeah,
literally
there's also a
Willard in the Hood.
rodents with a Z.
Rodents.
Right.
Rodents.
Oh my god.
There's the rats.
I think I actually reviewed that one. Rodents. Yeah.
There's
But-
bats. We could do bats.
Oh, there's tons of
Sheesh.
tons
yeah.
of bad films.
Anyway,
So that's Southern Comfort, and that is episode 2 of the Sin Bin.
well, we still have to announce what we're doing next week.
Well, this is
next
the
month.
outro. So this is the outro.
All right. So next month,
What the
Right.
fuck are we doing next month?
well, we are doing, which I actually have here.
Ooh.
This will be the featured review, phase 4,
I can't believe you already have it.
Yeah,
which is
see,
which
Must
could
be
go-
nice to
be
which-
rich.
which could also
Get
be
all the shit
on
early.
Zoology Volume 9 Ants.
How about subscriber? My shit hasn't even shipped yet.
Yeah, mine
Me
is
too.
shift.
I am a subscriber too, as you know.
Crazy.
And then my film, which I don't have yet, the one that I'm going to be doing, is called. What is it? Is it? I don't remember the name. Tyler, what's the name of it?
My phone's dead. I don't remember. I know it's like I know it's a western. And
Yeah, it's a
got-
western. Okay,
It's
hold
got
on, I
Robert
got it
Mitchum in
here.
it.
It is 5 card stud, which is what I thought it was, but I didn't want to embarrass myself and say the wrong thing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm
I
trying
thought that's
to.
what I was doing. Fuck. I
No,
don't know.
what? No, bro. I'm doing.
I didn't
Final
order
I've
Fantasy.
that
actually, I've
one.
actually seen that film before. So
I think
Yeah,
you. I
that
thought you were
one
doing.
I didn't order it, but it's like streaming for free somewhere, so I'll probably watch it still.
Weren't
Oh,
you
cool.
doing?
Me too.
Man Called Hero. Who was doing that?
No one.
Okay. Was Tyler do it? What are you doing, Tyler?
So this month was pretty thin for just main VS releases. So I'm actually doing a partner title from Deaf Crocodile, and that's Bubble Bath. It is a Turkish animation film.
Cool. Tony, what are you doing?
So I'm doing the Jess Franco movie on the Spanish Giallo box set, Night of the Skull. It's like kind of like a Giallo / like slasher.
Spanish, but you're not gonna do all 3.
Fuck no.
Maybe Moodz, were you doing Horencio Diabolical?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
That movie is something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's 90s shit, so I'm like, well, gotta do it.
I figured since I did a big release with a lot of special features last time, I would do the VSA, which I doubt has as many special features.
Yeah, probably not.
So yeah, and plus, I don't really get a chance to watch like westerns a lot, even though I like them a lot. So I was down for that. But yeah, so that'll be next month's. And actually, in a couple days, we'll probably see what March's titles are going to be. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we're getting close next Friday.
Yep.
I didn't realize that we could do partner label stuff, but
Your first shit was a partner label stuff.
well, it's no,
No,
That
it
was
was
a
a sub-label.
sub-label.
that's Vinegar
Sub-label,
Syndrome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
It's
was
just
something I
a
kind
new
of just.
label.
That was something I kind of just threw out just
No,
because,
yeah, you
like,
could do
yeah,
partner label stuff. The
Yeah.
only thing is we're trying to do the newest releases, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And
This was
then
just a thin month on releases too.
If-
Well,
if
no,
there's
the
a
newest.
even-
If a partner label comes out with a new one in the same month, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
right.
And
Yeah.
then if and we have talked about if there's months that, don't have a bunch of releases or is like super thin, we could always pick some retro stuff to do as well.
Like the partner month,
Yeah.
June and December. Those don't have just regular VS releases.
Yeah. So we'll
Yeah.
probably do some different stuff during that.
Yeah, like of the haul I got, my favorite movie actually I've watched that all of them was a partner label. So that's something cool. That's something I'd be definitely down to talk about too.
Right.
Sweet.
I think that's
All right.
it, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Episode 2.
Definitely
Done.
leave us some comments on the YouTube video. We appreciated the last comments.
We do.
Yes.
100%,
Let us know what
man.
you think of the films, what you're picking up, which ones you like the best.
That's it.
That's
Which
it.
one you think is
All
the
right, man.
prettiest?
We're out of here, man. Episode 2 done. We'll be back next month. Episode 3. And check you guys then. Deuces.
Peace.